This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon and good morning to wherever you might be in the world. Welcome to another episode of Safari Live, coming to you live from Djuma in the Sabi Sands, Greater Kruger National Park, South Africa. We have got a beautiful impala ram who is trying to disappear into the thickets, and my name is Steve Falconbridge, and I'm joined by Senzo Mkhize, the three-fingered magician, on the camera, and we're out this afternoon on safari, and this is live, so please interact with us, send us your questions, hashtag Safari Live, or follow us on the YouTube stream. Let us know what you'd like to see, let us know what we can do for you. This morning was relatively quiet, we didn't manage to find any leopards on the property, but that is the way it works. Who knows what could turn up at any stage. I think yesterday we had a ridiculous amount of leopards, and now today we have zero that we have found. That is, we are going to try our best. We have got Scotty D out on vehicle, as well as Taylor also on vehicle. There is a storm brewing in the horizon. We got the roofs on and we are prepared. I have got my my thunder protection on my hat just in case, from the Ziziphus mucronata, the branch from this morning. I just have to be careful not to injure my finger every time I touch my hat. So please feel free, as the impala disappear into the bushes there, we're going to go over to Scotty D, who's found himself some tracks.
Hello everyone. What you are looking at is a wild dog track. Isn't that exciting? It's not an animal we see very often. My name is Scott and I'm teamed up with Seb on camera today. We're having to negotiate for our rain roofs because when we headed out, it was actually spitting, but now looking in the direction the rain comes from, it doesn't look too bad at all. So, exciting stuff. I just saw one animal's tracks heading along the road in this direction, over here. But then, when I hopped onto this side of the road, I noticed there was lots more. And they were heading up and down, hard to be certain which way, in fact, they ended up going, because they were moving up and down. But exciting prospects. Hopefully we will get lucky, and they actually often like snoozing in and around this area. They've been found quite a number of times sleeping under bushes in this general area, and it's usually an area where we see lots of impala, and I can't see any impala, which means maybe the wild dogs have chased them off. The only catch is that these animals move huge distances very quickly. So that, coupled with the fact that we are on the northeastern corner of our property, let me show you over here where we are. We're right over here, which, as you can see, doesn't leave us much room for work. If they go there and or there, they are gone. So we'll keep trying though, keep working this area. Maybe they'll poke their noses out for us. And while we continue on this exciting search for the wild dogs, we're going to send you across to Taylor McCurdy. I'm not too sure exactly what she has planned for the afternoon.
We've been Chitwa! Hello everybody. Yeah, so there might be a comedy show from our side, because we're going to have a sense of humour about the weather. Of course, my name is Taylor McCurdy. On camera, Taylor McCurdy, and this is a live and interactive safari, so we're hopefully going to find all sorts of wonderful things. But I can tell you right now that I know you'll all be excited, because we are heading to Chitwa. So that means we're going to look in Ghana for the whole afternoon, and we won't stop searching. So that's good news for all of us. Now, just checking to the right, to the left before we cross the main road. Off we go. We're going down Gari Main, Gari roads, straight towards Chitwa. I'm thinking, because this wind is now picking rain, maybe we'll try and check the dam. Maybe we'll try and check the dam first if all the guests are out, see if there are any elephants around. Right, I'm going to send you back across to Scott, though, who's hopefully going to find you some wild dogs.
Well, not just yet, Taylor McCurdy, but very happy that you had faith in me finding them within 30 seconds. Sorry, it sounded like both Steve and Taylor are going through some dodgy signal, so you're left with no option but then to jump on board with me. Now, I can't see any more tracks of the wild dogs, but that's no major surprise. Like I said, they move very quickly, erratically. They don't necessarily stick to the roads. They do their own thing. And we're just going to have to keep looping and swooping this general area and see if we can't get a kind of general direction of movement that they were heading in. I really do hope we get lucky and find them. It's been a while since I've raced after wild dogs. It's one of the most exhilarating animals you could wish to follow through the African bush. Rico, thank you for noticing that, yes, I appear to be on the mend. I had a bit of a cough yesterday and a blocked nose, but feeling much better this morning, and I'm sure by tomorrow I will be 102%, just like we are 102% live, the most live thing you could ever imagine to be a part of. Very good. No tracks. What I'm really hoping is that I do a big loop around this block, find no tracks, do a short walk, and then find them snoozing under a bush, and then just sit and wait patiently for them to wake up and take us hunting with them. Just want to get a hold of Taxon. He's just got mobile, one of the guides, and see if he had any updates from the wild dogs this morning. Tax, were the Madach found this morning? There's some tracks on Sandy Patch where it's access. Sorry, go again? Here's some more tracks here. This doesn't look good. I was just wondering if the Madach were located this morning. There's some tracks on Sandy Patch heading north towards Buffelshoek Dam. This isn't promising. Okay, copy. I'll keep following up here, but yeah, tracks are very close to Buffelshoek cut line on Sandy Patch, going north. So, doesn't sound like anyone found the wild dogs this morning, but I'm fairly confident these tracks are from last night or early this morning. So maybe they'll be around, and even though they may have crossed the boundary, they could, as easily as they've crossed away, they could very easily come back. So that's what I'm hoping for. Paul, you would like to know what happens when two separate packs of wild dogs meet. I've never been lucky enough to actually see that happen, but there'll be a couple of variables. If it's 10 on 3, the 3 will run for their lives. If it's 10 on 10, there'll probably be an almighty fight. And sometimes they might just look at one another and decide that fighting is not the best option and run in the opposite direction. So I think those are the 3 variables. And yeah, it's impossible to say exactly what would happen. They aren't territorial, so if they do bump into another pack of wild dogs, there may be some kind of a fight but they don't have, as far as I'm aware, hugely vested interest in like making any given area their own. But again, if one pack outnumbers the other, you'll probably find that there'll be some bullying that goes down. If they're equally matched, you'll probably find, well, they'll have a bit of a standoff and then just work things out verbally as opposed to physically. Alrighty then. Well, And have a kind of look around here and just stop and listen, see if we can hear anything, see any distressed impala. But I'm fairly confident these wild dog, considering how close their tracks were to our northern boundary where we are now, just behind us there, I'm not confident that we're going to find them, unless, of course, they have come back. Anyway, let's send you back to Taylor for an update while we try and work out what's going on here.
Well, we're here. We're on Chitwa now. It was quite quick. So, it's very windy and miserable down in the sort of southern corner of our traverse, which is not ideal. So, what we're going to keep doing is... I just don't know if we can go across the dam wall just yet. I think we might have to wait a little bit because there still might not... well, sorry, what I'm trying to say is not all the guests may be out just yet, but I did see some warthogs down here, so we'll just stop around the corner and have a little squiz at them. Where are they? Hopefully they don't run away this time. Now, we have a request for the menu this afternoon. It's from Uneek, and that is, can we have a monkey Monday if we don't have any cats? Well, whether we'll be able to find a monkey, maybe. I suppose we're on Chitwa, and there's nice drainage lines with big trees, so there's a possibility. But let's not get too excited. We will try. We will check. Maybe I'll have to call them in. I'll do the monkey call and see if they listen. David, you know what I've just seen? To the top right of that warthog, there's a shrub, that one there, that's now on the far right hand corner. There's a cuckoo that's just landed in it. Yes, if you keep going, you'll eventually see it. There we go, it's bouncing up and down, you've got it. Who we got? It's either a Jacobin or a Levalence. I haven't got a clue which one it is, but I'm going to open my book. Oh, I've got a phone. I can also use my mobile device. They look very similar. Those two species of cuckoos, and the call sounds almost exactly the same as well, and it's bouncing around there. That's the first cuckoo I've seen since I've been back. That was quite nice. So sorry, I got distracted. Oh, I think it is the Jacobin cuckoo. Shall I show you? Yeah, you want to have a little look-see. I'm going to give the phone a bit of a clean, though. We'll open it. There it is. Nice drawings. Beautiful. Don't you think? So the reason how I knew that it was indeed the Jacobin is because the Levalence, let's have a look at another one, has got quite a bit of streaking on the breast. So this one hasn't had any streaking. And if I just go out and go into the Levalence, let's have a look. There we go. Look at all that streaking on the breast. That was something that I did not notice on that cuckoo, and it was turned around at one point. So very cool. Very nice to see. And now we've got some rain. That's lovely. I actually jinxed us. I said I don't think it's going to rain. Joke's on me. Huh? Warthogs don't seem to mind too much about the rain, though. I bet they're going to be excited because after a decent downpour, and I'm not talking about David, it is Downpour Dave. Hey, that was your nickname at one point. Once upon a time. Why was it? Because you predicted the rain day. Yeah. Yes, well done. We'll just remind you of your achievement there. Always patting one another on the back. But these warthogs will be excited because their mud wallows will fill up quite nicely, and then it will give them something to do during the heat of the day. Although the water levels seem to still be topped up quite nicely. Have you all been rolling in the mud today? It does look like they've got a bit of covering on them, yes. As we have a closer inspection, you can see that they've been sitting in the mud. It was quite warm. You can see also all the little raindrops now falling on the warthog, in case you doubted me and you thought that I was just telling big stories about the rain. Oh, you can even hear the rain because we've got our roof on. I can now feel the rain. It's lovely. It's quite refreshing, actually. And I say this as sincere as possible because it really has been so hot and humid and unpleasant. So it looks like the warthogs are just pulling the tops of the grasses out at the moment, and that's because they're full of seeds. So that's the most nutritious part of the plant to feast upon, is to get all those top bits. Quite funny to watch them, actually. Instead of down on their knees and crawling across the grass like they normally do, they can actually stand up and feed this time and just gobble away, eating all sorts of grasses at the moment. All the Weltherias in the background too, James's favourite plant. Now, I hope it doesn't get any harder than this, otherwise we're going to have to put our rain covers down. Oh, hippos are excited about the water too. That's quite nice. However, David, there's an impala to the right that's not happy about the rain. Now, the biggest question we were asked while we were in the Mara, or actually just in general when going on safari, is what do the animals do when it starts to rain? Well, this impala has moved from the opposite side of that shrub and is now using it as shelter. So it doesn't need to necessarily be standing under cover, under a canopy, but all he's going to do is position himself in the opposite direction of where the wind is coming from. And then we'll stay quite nice and dry. That's what we do in emergency situations too. If we have a super downpour and we just aren't able to put covers down quick enough, you try and get to the nearest shrub and park on the opposite side to look for a bit of shelter. So this is a technique that all the animals will use. And then they also always seem to keep their tails tucked quite close to their bottoms. Very nice. Right, I think we're going to actually have to put some covers on. We'll see what the boss says behind the camera. And while we have a debate about rain covers or not, let's go see if Steve is also getting damp.
Not yet, thanks Taylor. There is definitely something brewing on the horizon, but we are prepared. We are prepared. But ladies and gentlemen, you will remember this bush. I'm sure you have seen it before. We talk about it quite a lot on bushwalks. And what is happening, which is very, very interesting, is that it is fruiting again. This is, yes, the white berry bush. And you can see, oopsie, if I can just get it to sit still in my hand. You see that sense? So you can see the fruits are coming out again. So because of the rainfall that we had, these plants are doing their thing again. But not ready to eat. No. Actually very bitter. So that is the objective with these trees, and I'm going to show you another one. I'm sure Herbie has shown you this one, or someone did. Scott did the other day. How's that? There's the magic guari, and the reddish ones are the edible ones. That was actually very off. That was really off. So the green ones, let's see if they're edible. They're not bad. They're a little bit bitter, but I'm taking off the skin. Excuse me. I'll throw those away and have a look at how big. I've taken the entire skin off of that one, or almost the entire skin. So look at how much seed there is. There is a normal one with the skin intact, and that is the fruit without the skin. So I was talking yesterday about fruit, and I was also talking this morning about fruit and how we have, as humans, manipulated plants to produce fruit with a lot more flesh and a lot less seeds. I mean, come on, who doesn't buy seedless grapes these days? Who doesn't buy, well, seedless oranges and naartjies or nectarines and things, not nectarines, but that sort of stuff. It's becoming more and more and more popular. But what is the object of fruit? Fruit is there for distribution of genetics, of movement through the population, and indigenous plants don't have a lot of meat on there, mainly seed. But we find lots of birds, go-away birds, for example, absolutely love this. I'm sure barbets might also have a little bit of a feast, and some of the hornbills that we find lurking around. So when the rain comes, we get more fruits, we get more seeds. It is looking like it's going to be a good year, especially if the rain we're seeing today brings us a nice downpour. And we're not looking for just a thorough wetting. We're looking for a day or two of sort of medium, gentle rain that will just soak into the ground and fill up our dams. Manu, you should always, his comments, we should always feed me before we go out and drive. I am always snacking. And I think a lot of you out there enjoy my feedback on the taste of some of these plants. I haven't died yet, which is a good thing. I haven't had an upset stomach too, which is good. Only in moderation. You eat little bits and little bits at a time, and you shall be fine. But I am always snacking, which is good. It's nice to keep snacking. So we have moved into sort of the eastern side of Djuma, sort of where Scott was hanging out this morning, seeing if we can maybe find some freshness, fresh tracks of any animals that might be moving. The temperature's quite calm and quite cool, so you hopefully expect to see an animal move a little bit, because That's why they don't move, really. We talk about cats here. They don't normally move when it's hot because of the energy that it requires to move. But we're going to also head over towards our sort of eastern boundary. Oh, that's marvelous. Ah, Justin wants to know which is the tree or bush that can be used as a toothbrush, and I will show you in a moment. Let me just have another look here. This is a tree that we've spoken about in length, the African weeping wattle, and what's marvelous about it is that it is actually flowering again. So when it comes to taking samples of trees for identification purposes, this branch over here would actually be ideal. Can you see that sense? We've got the fruit pod, we've got the leaf, not just one. Don't ever come to a botanist with a leaf and go, hey, I found a leaf. Some of my students actually would come to me with something like that and go, look what I found, what is it? It's impossible to say what that is, but with a leaf, the entire leaf structure, one leaf structure, there's how it's arranged as well, there's a flower and there's a fruit. With this, the only thing that you need, two other aspects that are very important in identifying this tree is the shape, what did the bark look like, and where did you find it? And with those three other elements, you'll easily be able to identify most trees. I actually, as a practice for the students to show them how impossible it was, I would come from the bush with a branch like this and I'd put it down and say, go identify that. I would take them hours and hours and hours because they didn't have the information. So it taught them to pay attention to all of those other things. Was there a milky latex when you ripped it off? That is an important one to look at. And this one, no, there's not. But that, by the time you get the sample home, that milky latex will be gone. So it's important to make notes in the field. What did the bark look like? What was the general shape? And where was it growing? And that will help you very much. Okay, let me find you a quick toothbrush tree. They are generally quite close by. Let me just have a quick look. There's a second one here, which does work. This is not the number one toothbrush tree in the world. Ooh. But most of the viewers out there do not want me to do this because it is a very old used trick out in the wilderness. So this is a hairy guarri, not a magic guarri. I was just eating some of the seeds off of the magic guarri just before, and by breaking the end off here and chewing that, I can make that into a very nice toothbrush. But seeing as we've got the hairy guarri in our hand at the moment, the seeds are there just like the magic guarri. Also the same. I'm going to, seeing as you have forced me to talk about this tree. Again, lots and lots of seed inside versus flesh. Lots and lots of seed versus flesh, just like the magic guarri. Okay, but what was known, and traditional healers used to actually take the roots and sometimes even the bark and chew it for a hypnotic sort of psychedelic effect. Senzo's smiling at that. He's going to ask me to take some of this home with him. Here we go, Senz. This is for you, for later. Okay, so we're going to continue on this road and let's go over to Taylor, who's in Chitwa. I'm not sure if she's at the dam, but let's see what she has for you.
It's gone. Oh, there's another one. We did have Guinea Fowl, but they're all gone now, unfortunately. Bye, Guinea Fowl. That was nice of them. Always. Right, we'll carry on. I'm very nervous to go anywhere near the dam because I haven't got confirmation that all the guests are out just yet. Are you going to hang around, Guinea Fowl? Oh, no, yeah, please run into the bushes. That's exactly what we want you to do. Sorry about the roof, everybody. Now they're petrified of something. Please tell me you saw a leopard. It's pretty easy to ruffle the feathers of a guinea fowl, that's for sure. I mean, all they did was run away from us, run to a tree, gave themselves a big fright, and now they're fine again. Now they're carrying on like nothing even happened. I don't think there was a leopard in there. I think one got a fright, and it's kind of like that sheep mentality. They all then overreacted and all started squawking. we can't go anywhere near Chitwa Lodge yet. We're actually going to have to turn around and go back the other way. I could hear guests laughing. Oh no, we're going to have to come back later. Let me practice my reversing. Okay, cool. So we're going to reverse. We're going to go the scenic way around. Maybe we'll start on the most sort of southeastern boundary. We'll do that. And then we'll end up at the dam. Hopefully we'll get a sunset, which will be quite nice. Let's go see if Scott has found any more of those wild dog tracks.
No, I haven't had any, excuse me, joy with the wild dog tracks just yet. There is a chance that they're not as fresh as I would have liked them to have been. They could have been from yesterday morning. But either way, the last tracks that I did see were heading north out of our property, so we'll leave them for the time being. And now I'm just kind of driving around an area where we could bump into the Shidulu female leopard. She's a female that we haven't seen very much of. She's quite new to our area, and kind of lingers along our western boundary. Also kind of Tumba also kind of hangs around this northwestern corner of Djuma. And after he finished his kudu kill at some point in the day yesterday, he may have come back into this area where he usually hangs out. It'll be interesting to see how he's faring after having such a full belly yesterday. I'm sure he's just relaxing and taking it easy. It would also be nice to know where young Hosanna ended up. So we've got some options regarding the leopards. None of them are perfect regarding the freshness of any tracks that we could follow, but I've got a feeling that they're around. Paul, you'd like to know when last we saw Tingana, or have we seen him lately? Sure, when was the last time we saw him? I'd say, was it when? Just before Hukumuri stole his kill, which was early on in the month, maybe 10 days ago. He was seen shortly after that on Chitwa, where Taylor is, so maybe Taylor will get some intelligence from those guys. He tends to have been hanging out more across there than he did on Djuma now that this new male has come onto the scene. The new male is called the Hukumuri male, and there was reports of him having made a kill somewhere just south of our southern boundary at some stage last night. So depending on what the kill is, I'm not too sure. He may be gone for a few days while he's busy feeding on that. But yeah, Paul, sadly I think, unless there's a small miracle and Tingana has a serious turn for the better with regards to his health, because he's not looking really impressive at the moment, so I think we're just going to be seeing less and less of him and more of the Hukumuri male. Those are my thoughts on old Tingana. Sad that his time appears to be coming to an end, but it's natural, I guess, and we're very fortunate to be around whilst this interesting change in dynamics is occurring, because it doesn't happen very often. And let's just hope we can get lucky and actually document some of the interactions between the dominant males of this area as they go about their business. Just dangling my head over trying to see if there's any tracks here, but no joy just yet. Mrs. Lapwing, you suggesting that we need the leopards to check in with us before they go about their business. Well, wouldn't that be wonderful? It would be absolutely marvelous if they kept us up to date with what they were planning on doing and when. But I don't think it's ever going to get to that stage, sadly. Very good. Well, we're going to keep driving about. Hopefully the next time you come to us, something exciting will be happening here. But for now, we're going to send you back across to Steve.
Thanks, Scotty. I hope you come right with those wild dogs. There's nothing Nothing too exciting has happened on this side, apart from there being wonderful trees and grasses all over the place. Looking for potentially any movement of Thandi coming back in from the east, which would be marvelous. We know she loves tall marula trees. Oh, who cares? You asked about the sausage tree. I'm far away from that place now. It is by Pump House, so I don't know if I'm going to get back to that side when it's still light, if I mission around here. But if I do, I will pull over and find that sausage tree for you. It's not a very exciting tree at the moment because it's not flowering, it's not fruiting. It has got an amazing, beautiful big flower, and whenever it is flowering, you can see birds and insects in their multitudes frequenting the tree, pollinating the beautiful red flower, and the fruits can get up to almost about 22 pounds, the fruit, and it is a solid mass of vegetable matter. So I do remember being asked for that, and I apologize I have not gone back to the sausage tree, but I only know of the one in Djuma. Only know of the one, sadly. Other places I've worked, there are a lot more sort of prominent. They tend to grow quite large along sort of permanent river courses. We don't have a permanent river here, so that's possibly why we don't have one. And the one that we do have that's growing, it is in the sort of dry river depression, where there's a pump where water comes from. So it's obviously got access to the water there and is doing quite well. Okay, marvelous. We've got some Samaras here. I wanted to compare the two Samaras that I have. One for the russet and one for the red bush willow. Just plugging myself in. I know I did a little party trick with this yesterday, but you can, sorry, Sens, you can clearly see the difference in the red. No, I'm only joking. This is the red in my right hand, and then the russet in my left. Very easy to see, and a marvelous table decoration. And what's important, ladies and gentlemen, back home, is if you are going to make tea with these plants, you need to remember that this one you can make tea with. Remember, I showed you the trick yesterday. If I pop open, show you the surprise inside, throw away the seed, and then you can make a lovely tea out of this little pod. But this one, you can do the same when it is ripe. Oh, it's working. You pop out the seed, but you do not want to eat this. This is poisonous. You can actually kill yourself if you make tea out of this one. Russet, red. Russet, red. But the red, some leaves just on this side. Actually, while we're here, let's show you the difference in the leaves, because the leaves are actually quite similar, but yet very different. Similar to the untrained eye. Here, let me just grab a branch off there, and I'll come put it on the dashboard. Okay, there is the red bush willow. And what is very noticeable in the two species is how large the leaves are, first of all. This is the russet on the left, and if you look closely at the leaves, I'm just going to hold that there for sense. If you look closely, there's a sort of reddish tinge to the leaves, and if you look closely in light, there's actually some hairs underneath here that you could clearly see in the light. But the leaves are quite small. Some people would say they're Mickey Mouse ears, and it's a rounded tip. Okay, now the red bush willow, first of all, this is a small leaf off of this selection here. First of all, it is green and smooth on both sides with no hairs whatsoever. And you see that? No hairs anywhere. I can actually put the two together and maybe you can see the slight difference. Slight reddishness on the left of the screen, especially down that mid vein there. Now, what is awesome about this red bush willow is it turns, the tip of the leaf, the apex, turns and twists up. The species name is called apiculatum, and this tip is actually called an apex, and the apex twists in all of the red bush willows. Sorry, they twist, and you can clearly see that in this bigger example here. You see how it twists over there, right up at the top. Okay, it's the only bush willow to do that, and very easy to identify because of that. Obviously, we don't have seed pods all year round. Okay, so now here comes the crux of the matter. These leaves, which I can grab off and I can crush, have got a nice sort of what's the word? Almost like a sweetish sort of smell to them. And these you can throw, you need to dry them a little bit. These you can throw into boiling water to make a marvelous tea. So don't confuse the russet bush willow and the red bush willow pods. And these ones you can use for a tea. I hope that helps. Are there any plants can be used for stomach cramps? Most certainly. Most certainly. The russet bush willow, not the russet bush willow, the magic guarri, which we spoke about before. I think Senzo's actually got a branch. Did you throw it away? The magic. You threw it, eh? Yeah. The magic guarri, which we talked about before, with the hairy guarri, both of them can be suitable for abdominal pain, which will help with stomach cramps. And essentially you use a bit of the bark and you make a decoction, so sort of you warm it in hot water and you take out the vegetable material and then you can drink that. It will actually cure anything in the tummy, but you've got to be careful on the dosage there. The thing with medicinal plants that you have to be aware of is that the dose could kill you if you're not aware of it. Like when you go to the doctor, he says, here's your prescription medicine, take 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and 2 after dinner. If you take 6 and 12 and 24, you could probably die. So it's important to understand the dosage, and a lot of this information is not available. So I'm going to be doing some testing over the next few months, and hopefully I don't die. I have signed the disclaimer forms, but I hope that helps with your afternoon tea, ladies and gentlemen. Don't confuse the 2 trees. Both of them can make tea, but one will kill you. So important information right there. So it's wonderful wind. This is the kind of conditions and wind that I would expect. I mean, if you're sitting with a cat, a lion or a leopard, and it's quite still, and suddenly this wind picks up, you often find them stand up and start moving. Because not only is it cooler, the noise that the wind does in the environment here is it rustles all the leaves, it makes everything move, and it makes the approach of a predator so much more sort of invisible to from an auditory perspective to your prey animals. Even the kudu with those amazing big ears find it very difficult. Okay, so there's an update on the radio. I need to just change quickly. So yes, when the wind is like this, it's very likely that you could find animals moving. And we're going to go over to we're going to go over to Taylor down and let's see how wet she's getting.
We've dried off now. I'm sorry, I was surprised by that. You won't believe what happened. So we still are having a little bit of vehicle problem. We're not quite sure what's wrong with Jigger, but we'll get to that in a moment. We're driving, and the next minute we've just put the tire back on the car. David showed us how strong he was. He put the tire up here all by himself. I almost had an octopus clip, it's not called an octopus clip, everybody's teasing me, a bungee cord, but my dad calls them octopus clips, probably because he's from Australia, so I call them that my whole life. There's another weird word that I always get teased about saying, and almost flung that into my eye. And as I literally sat in the car, Harley comes racing past and literally just dusting, goes, come. So I'm like, okay, we're on our way. I didn't know where I was going. So it seems as though there's a leopard crossing, I think it's going north, to sort of Weaver's Nest, Gowrie, Maine. So I know Kirsten has told Scott, and hopefully Scott will race there. Oh, there's a show at the dam though. Never mind. Who needs a leopard when we've got hippos? And we'll have a look at them. Everyone's out of camp now, so we can come back. Please, Jigger, don't break on us. And also, can we not get stranded at Chitwa Dam? Because I feel like that's happened to me one too many times. Where's Snappy? Snappy the crocodile? Not here today. Okay, well, we'll just park like this for now. Hello. Which hippos would you like to look at, David? Those ones. Cool, we can look at those ones. Now, question from Justin. Thank you for worrying about me. You're wondering how my leg is. My leg is fine. It's still pins and needly, if that's a way to describe it. Actually, Steph messaged me today and he asked me how my sting was. And I said, it's a little bit uncomfortable, but I'll survive. And he said, okay, good, because it's going to last for a week. That's exciting. But I'll be fine. I'm trying to keep it or sort of off of any surfaces, so I'm not really putting my leg down. I'm holding it up slightly, and I rest it on the handbrake when we're in a static sighting, if you're wanting to know how I'm managing to do that. Very windy though. You can see it's like the ocean today at Chitwa Chitwa. Yay! Some lovely hippo sounds, which is always quite fitting. I think it's going to be quite exciting at this dam. If not now, but definitely a little bit later. And there are a couple of gaps in the cloud, so maybe we'll get a classic Chitwa sunset, which will be ideal. Oh, David, there, that one looks like it's going to open its mouth on the right. Those ones. See how it's mouthing the water? Often they do that, and then they thrash around and throw their heads up in the air. No, of course, because I said that it's not going to do anything now. And then the other pod will do all the exciting things. It actually looks like it's got some fresh wounds on it. Look at that. Are those scratches? Where's my binoculars? Have you got... Might be some grasses. Oh, there we go. At least it opens its mouth. I don't know what that white stuff is. If it is a scratch, have you been boxing? Come back up again, please, hippo. Maybe it's not a serious scratch. Maybe it's kind of like a graze. Have any of you ever taken a stick, or if you've walked past a stick and it's slightly scratched you, not quite opening up your skin and making you bleed? It looks a little bit like that. Or maybe it's just pieces of grass or something on it. But you'd think if it would be in the water, though, it would wash off. I don't know. Interesting, though. Either way, going back under the water again. Also looking for some cool water birds. Now, looking at the dam, it's actually filled up quite nicely. And Christy, you were wondering how deep do I think it is over here? I think it varies quite a bit. I think there's a lot of little islands that we just can't see. Often wherever the hippos are, it's fairly shallow and they are able to stand. So I'm going to say it varies between 0.5 meter and maybe 2 meters deep. I don't think anything more than that, really. I don't think it's a particularly deep dam, but I also haven't been out in the middle. And I don't think I'll ever go swimming in Chitwa Dam. You know who we will ask, though? We might have to ask Sheldon and Dylan and see maybe there's some old guide stories from back in the day when everyone was a little bit on the naughty side, and perhaps somebody has gone swimming in the dam and has tested how deep the water is, but we'll get back to you on that one. Perhaps the next time that we pop past Chitwa Dam. I'll see if I can get hold of either one of them. But it doesn't look too deep there. I mean, they're able to stay above the surface. I think that they can stand in that spot. Some waterbuck at the back as well, just having a good graze. There's quite a few different animals down today. Some bushbuck, got all the bird species. But we might hang around here and see what else develops at the dam. I'm going to send you to Steve, who has got a bird that I think will be struggling to fly in this wind.
These birds are the best flyers in the world, I think. They might not be the best in the world, but they seem to be able to fly without any effort. And normally when there is not a single breath of wind in the sky. Ladies and gentlemen, we have found ourselves a male batelier. And how do we tell that from what we just see? And it's quite easy to remember. The male essentially wears a waistcoat which covers the shoulders, whereas the female wears a bikini and a miniskirt. So where there's the white on the shoulder, the female will also have white lower down on the wing. So that is a nice way of remembering it. And if that doesn't answer your question too well, I can quickly show you on the dashboard. I've got a picture of a female here. But quite easy to identify when they're sitting like that. Here we have her and her sort of, what would you say, bikini top and miniskirt. There we go. You can see the second white patch. Oops, sorry about that. At the bottom. Okay, easy to remember. So they are quite a reliable sort of source of finding a carcass of sorts. And if there was an animal that's killed something here, a lion or a leopard, generally the Bateleur eagle is the first one to find that kill. So I'm going to spend a couple minutes in here, maybe take a little walk in there and see if we can see any cat. This is the area where Tundi has been seen. I know Scott was telling me on the radio that there's some tracks further south. I am heading there, but I just couldn't resist the opportunity to maybe follow up and see what this Bateleur is maybe looking at. Sitting up there in a very tall knobthorn tree, looking down on the ground, which gives me an idea that something's there. But let's go to Scott for an update, and I'll let you know what happens here.
Not much going on here, still just cruising about, checking a few roads that I don't really check that often, and I always wonder to myself about that, and you know, is there a reason why I always kind of check certain roads? Because it's through past experience of animals using kind of preferred highways, or is it just kind of bad habits that I've slipped into that causes me not to check other roads that could equally hold some interesting sightings, scenes and or tracks of the animals we're looking for? So this is one of the least driven roads, I think, on Djuma. It's called Ephraim's Road. Most of you probably wouldn't have heard that, even the more experienced, longer standing Safari Live goers. But it is an area where I feel we could get lucky rustling up young Tamba, the male leopard. Ali, you would like to know who was the dominant male leopard before Tingana. His name was Mvula, and he was still alive in December last year. So even though he was ousted from this territory about 3 years ago, he was still doing his thing, obviously just kind of flying below the radar, not getting in the way of anyone, just doing his own thing, you know. Not getting many girlfriends along the way, but still just carrying on, maybe getting lucky here and there. Small territory, but sadly he was spending a lot of time in an area where we do not traverse, so it makes it difficult for us to keep tabs on what they're doing when they're not with us. So yeah, and just about 3 years later it appears that his successor Tingana is getting the same treatment from another young and upcoming male. Mvula was great quality. Spent a lot of time with him in the kind of first 6 months that I was here. And it'll be wonderful to see him after all these years of me not seeing him. And a lot of you as well. I'm sure a lot of you have been keeping touch on his movements via his Facebook page. And as bizarre as it is that some of the wild animals that live here have got Facebook pages, I think it's hugely useful, because it allows multiple people to keep track of the same animal, even if they all traverse different areas. Neil, you would like to know if leopards are creatures of habits, and yes, they certainly are, but to varying degrees, some more than others. But yeah, they do kind of, you know, walk along similar pathways and routes, and once you get to know those pathways and routes that they like to take, not necessarily all the time, but a lot of the time, it definitely does make, you know, tracking them and finding them a lot easier. If we take the Hukumuri male, for example, in the short time that we've been seeing him, basically since mid-December, we've already picked up a few of his traits and which, you know, pathways he likes to come in and out on. We know for a fact that there's a very specific termite mound where he successfully plucked a warthog, and about 2-3 weeks later we followed him back to that very same mound. So yeah, there's an example of how they kind of get to know their backyard just like we do, and we get to know our area that we live in, and we may use one shopping center more than others, but when you're in a rush and you're on your way to your friend's house, you may stop in at an abnormal one. And the same thing goes for the leopard, you know, depending on their predicaments and their situation, they may be not forced to, but inclined to do something slightly different to the norm. Marvelous. Well, sure something's going to pop up at some stage, but so far it's been quite chilled here on Rusty, which is the vehicle I'm driving around. Hopefully Taylor on Jigger is having a bit more luck than we are.
No, but Steve... Wait, we were with Steve, hey, David? Yeah. I don't know. Stephen, isn't there a leopard that you're supposed to be going to? So you'll be definitely... Oh, you're with Scott, that's why. I think Stephen's on his way to the leopard. We don't know who it is. I wonder if it's Hokomuri, because it's kind of in the area where we lost him yesterday, or when he crossed into Little Gauri. Just check the roads again in case anyone racing there. We are not having so much luck. Sadly, we had to leave Chitwa Dam as... there were some late arrival guests that aren't going out on safari. So the dam is now off limits. I'm very sorry about that. But at least we got to have a quick look at some hippo, and they opened our mouth for us. So I feel like that was a bonus, and we got to hear them. So we can just do a sunset shot somewhere else. It doesn't have to be at the dam. It'll be somewhere around. So now this area over here to the right is basically the area where Kuchava was last seen. So we're going to check here extensively to see if we can find Kuchava and her baby. Mrs. Lapwing, you've asked about the zebra and where have they all gone? I suppose to greener pastures. I think that they've gone into the Manuleti and possibly into Kruger around Orpen Gate. With obviously some massive rains. No, I want to go all the way to the end. And I think they're just there grazing at the moment. The grazing is really not great up in the northern Sabi Sand, not like it is in the surrounding areas. So in the southern Sabi Sand, there's some really good areas for grazing. And then again, just north of the Manuleti, Orpen, and then north of that into Satara, which is in the Kruger, is really fantastic. So I think they're in those spots. They come through here every now and then, but they don't stay for very long. And it's just very thick up here. I mean, it's probably the reason as to why we don't see a lot of buffalo coming through on a regular basis. Yes, we see the odd herd every now and then, but we should be seeing resident populations of buffalo up here. There's just not enough food for them, I don't think. So they're constantly on the go. Because when you're down in the southern Sabi Sand, I mean, when I was working at Sabi, there would be 3 or 4 herds of buffalo, you know, anywhere between 200 and 1,000. But there are lots of open areas, lots of opportunity for them to graze. Yes, there's the rivers down that way too, which definitely help. So I think that's got a lot to do with it. It's purely just there not being a lot of food. Now you're probably going, but Taylor, there's grass on either side of you. What are you talking about? Some of this grass is not necessarily delicious, and they might be saving this for when they're desperate and there's just absolutely nothing else to eat. Remember, the animals are going to try and eat the best quality food first and eat as much of it as possible, so that they can, of course, carry on. Right, sorry, I'm just telling them that we're live and I can't stop for a little chit-chat, you know, even though I love a good chit-chat, sometimes you've got to give it a skip. So yeah, so I think that's the reason why. Because when we see the zebra through here, it's normally in the drier months in winter, and then they're not even eating grass because there's not much grass left. They have to feed on round leaf teak. They have to eat all sorts of other things, which is not ideal for them, but they manage. So now as we're driving, I'm checking very carefully. I think Kuchava's quite a clever girl. She doesn't want to be seen with her cub, so she's hiding it in the deepest, darkest, thickest of thick bush, which is here, in the sort of eastern corner of Chitwa. So we will do all the roads that sort of meander and serpentine between sort of the airstrip and the Cheetah Plains driveway. We'll have a look. Paul, you're wondering what is the latest with regards to the waterbuck horns that I've brought back to camp? Well, they're in camp now. I've had to move them 3 times because of the smell. To me and says, I don't know where to leave them. I don't want to leave them out in the open because I can promise you right now, someone is going to take them, and then I'm going to be very upset because we found them. Well, I'm sure everyone else just drove past them, and I think they're going to be a great asset for the tent. So they're drying out at the moment. I'm hoping that the carrion beetles and all the flies are going to get rid of the excess sort of flesh, but it might take a couple of weeks. So also it's sitting out in a sunny area. So we'll leave them for a few weeks, and then we will, once appropriate and the stench has left us, then we'll put them back in the tent. But we're going to keep going. I can start to see the cheetah playing signs now, so we're almost at our destination. Scott doesn't seem to be having luck with those wild dogs, but who knows? Maybe they're on the move through the thicket. Let's go see where he is.
Given up on the wild dogs long ago, Taylor. So not expecting to bump into them. It would be awfully pleasant though if they did just appear out of nowhere, but it would come as a great surprise, because their tracks are not really on our property. They headed north out of our property, the last tracks I saw. Quite a windy, moody afternoon, great weather for hunting. For the cats, we just need to find some, and hopefully we'll be able to see them hunting. Kamora, you'd like to see what the story is with seeing aardvarks after dark here. I've seen one, I think in all my time in the Sabi Sands, or at least as far as my little memory can take me. And it was here on Djuma. We were doing a staff drive off Balanites Road. We had a brief sighting of one. They are here, but we're just not out much after dark, so the likelihood of seeing them is obviously greatly diminished by the fact that we don't go out when they go out. I'm not sure, in the year that I was gone from here, if the guys had any luck. I know Brent had a couple of sightings up in Kenya. So yeah, they're around. Often see their tracks. But yeah, I don't see them very much. Sadly, it'll be a wonderful animal to follow going about doing their business, looking for termites to snack on. Who knows, maybe tonight we'll get lucky. Not too sure where to go from here. I'm kind of not running out of options. There's plenty of options, but options that excite me are becoming limited. Linda, you say Aardvarks After Dark sounds like some kind of a TV show. Maybe we're skipping a beat. Maybe we should change up what we're doing and just go for aardvarks. Specialize in aardvarks. All righty. Oops, sorry, Seb. So I'm going to continue patrolling the western half after any sign of anything. Chris, you say Aardvark After Dark would be quite a nice name for a band. I agree. Things are getting desperate when we're on topics of discussion like we are now, but I guess that's what happens when you're on safari. Sometimes it's quiet and you just end up talking nonsense. I had a friend at university who had a band called Dubious Avo, quite like that. He wasn't a very dubious character, that was the only catch though. He was quite down the line. Maybe other band members were a bit dubious and he was the Avo, the constant. Now I was wondering in chatting with Seb, I'm not sure if any of you guys have heard of or seen of any sightings of Shadow and her daughter, not Barbara, being seen. I haven't heard their names being called in for a long, long time. And the last time I actually saw Shadow was up this very tree. right in that fork over there. Was it there? No, I think it was actually that fork over there. With the duiker kill, and her sister Tundi, who sadly crossed out of our property this morning, was spying on her from underneath this weeping wattle bush over here. Just poking her head out of that little bush over there. It was an awesome scene. Sadly, we missed the altercation that went down. It went down between drives in the heat of the day, when something, obviously Shadow may have given in to Tundi, or somebody gave in to somebody, because when we got back in the afternoon, there was no sign of either of them here, yet there was a decent portion of that kill remaining when we left in the morning. So it was an interesting kind of duel between the two sisters, who were kind of seen a couple of times quite close to one another, and it was when kind of Tundi was moving into this area just as kind of after her mother, both of their mother disappeared. And they both kind of fell into the hole here trying to acquire her turf, and it seems like Tundi came out on top. But I must say I am a little bit concerned that we've seen no further sign of Shadow and her youngster. It could be because of the Shidulu female, this young new female that's coming onto the scene, that hangs around kind of Shadow's old turf, or it could be due to the fact that the Hukumuri males come in and disrupted things. I'm hoping he hasn't got a hold of them and caused them any damage or death, but that is a reality. Could have happened. So yeah, if any of you have heard of or seen Shadow and her youngster being seen on the neighboring properties, please do let us know. It'd be wonderful to know that they are still safe and sound, but just hanging out in a different area. I'm hoping Steve gets lucky. He is heading off to reports of a leopard somewhere on our southern boundary. So let's hope he gets lucky there. Again, I wonder who that could be. Maybe it'll be Shadow. Wouldn't that be a pleasant surprise? The fact that Hukumuri had a kill, unless it was tiny, makes me inclined to think that it's not going to be him. And he's also just kind of come from our property, so I would have thought he would have kind of headed further west to check the western portion of his territory, which is outside of Djuma. Yeah, it could be Hosanna, the young male that Taylor was searching for this morning with Herbie. They didn't have much luck though. Yeah, it's incredible how many sightings you actually have out here. I remember James came out on a solo bushwalk kind of slash tracking team one afternoon, and he found Shadow lying on this termite mound just to our left. That was a good afternoon, and James did a great job in assisting us. She's not there this afternoon though. Let's send you across to Steve for an update on how his movements are getting along and how close he is to where that leopard could be.
Thank you very much, Scotty. We have come to the area where they last saw the leopard, and there's some tracks of it meandering. He came into our property and has gone again south into Little Gowrie. So he rushed all the way here, and he is gone. But such is the way of the leopards in the Sabi Sands. But as I expected, with this wind blowing, it's time, and it's sort of an activity sort of booster for these cats to start moving in preparation for a hunt. It has died down a bit from what it was before, but who knows, we might be lucky to find any of the other leopards that have just escaped our grasp from this game drive safari. But it was definitely a male. Could have been Humuri, because he came south from that we're about to get to shortly. He was south of that from yesterday, last night. But apparently he'd made a kill. So who knows? I would attempt to assume I know which leopard is which by the track, unless we do some form of branding on the bottom of the foot to say H for Hosanna or something like that, which I'm not suggesting we do, ladies and gentlemen. It's very hard. I know Scott and Herbie are telling us that Hukamuri's got these longer toes, so who knows. So this is the road that he came out last night, so it makes a whole lot of sense that it was him that went back around in again, and he's probably on his way to go and have a drink, although why he didn't come and just drink at this little pan is beyond my understanding. It's possible that he is at a small bit of meat and now he's looking for something else. Ashford, are there often leopard takeovers like this one? And takeovers of leopards happen probably, 3 to 4 years, maybe 5 years. A male leopard will look after a territory before being pushed out. It's just kind of the way he starts losing physical fitness, is pushed into the population, and then another one stronger and fitter outcompetes him. It's the way it works in a natural system, and Tingana's been here as a resident male for 3 years, even though he's 12. Who knows where he was before? I don't know this information, but this kind of stuff is very well documented for leopards and how long they hold the territories, but it also is a long-term thing. And in the Sabi Sands, they've been doing leopard research for over 35 years, so they've got a very good understanding of what happens here. But then in the same breath, you can't take that information and extrapolate it to another place because things are different. So it is always a study of a study, but the Sabi Sands generally does have some very good information purely because of the number of times we see these cats and how we're able to follow them and identify them. It is quite difficult to develop identification kits for these cats if you're not seeing them. You need to be able to see them. Like I say, you can track them, but how do you know which male it is unless you've got some form of GPS collar on the neck and see the movements? And there's a lot of work being going on with Cape Leopard Trust down in the Cape. A friend of mine was doing work for Endangered Wildlife Trust and African Wildlife Foundation on movements of leopards. So there's a lot of work out there, and it extrapolates and it makes all sorts of assumptions and tests some theories, but then we still have to look at the long-term sort of data which the Sabi Sands is pushing forward. So I hope that long discussion of mine answered your very brief question. I might go head back down to that should give you an idea maybe of where we are. Sinak, it is not the dry season, this is the wet season, and this is when most of the animals are around. But the problem is because it's so thick, the vegetation's dense, you can't see them, and also they spread out all over the place because of abundance of water and food. As soon as it starts drying, the vegetation diminishes, the animals start congregating into larger groups close to water, they're much easier to find. So let's go have a look at where we are. We have come in on this road, and this is where the leopard tracks were, coming down our southern boundary over here. And then they went back down into Little Gowrie, which is below us here. So we've come along the fire break, which is just the management track next to the main road. We've come in and we headed this way towards Treehouse Dam. We go have a look at Twin Dams, see if these leopards are up and about and moving near the water, because that could be an idea. But then again, it is only a guess. We never know. We could be lucky, but when the temperatures are like this, it's a very good chance of finding cats moving. So it's a good opportunity to spend more time moving around. Ravi wants to know if there's ever been a drive where there's been no sightings of animals. Kirst, you can maybe answer that for me, but I think the other day I got a steenbok. That was my drive. It was marvelous. But, that's the reality out here, Ravi, is that this is the African wilderness. This is live. Nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed. I think a lot of the viewers back home are very spoilt by the leopard encounters that we have here, because it is unbelievable what we're able to produce on this reserve. The things that we've seen just blow my mind away. And I've trained guides, and when I did my level 1, I went to a reserve that had no animals that you'd ever see. You only saw their tracks. So that taught me how to interpret small things, look at trees, look at plants, because that is essentially the environment that we are in. I know there are guides I've worked with in the past that as soon as the animals disappear, they start to get a little bit twitchy and they don't know what to do. They have no idea what to talk about. But that is not my problem, other people's problems. But yes, it does happen that it's quiet. It's very quiet, but We did bypass a breeding herd of elephants in our rush to get down here to find this beautiful leopard, whichever one he could have been. So we might slowly head back in that direction so we can guarantee to get a large animal on camera this afternoon. So while we do that, we're going to check the water, as I said. Let's go to Scott for an update.
Well, sorry, Steve. Unfortunate there that leopard had disappeared. I wonder who it was. I'm hoping Taylor, who's on that radio frequency, she's on a slightly different radio frequency to what we're operating on now, because she's on Chitwa. All the different areas have got their own kind of radio frequency, thankfully, otherwise it would be absolute chaos on the radios. So hopefully if she gets any updates as to who it is, that would be useful for us to know. And maybe the guys are still trying to work out who it is, and she'll keep us posted, thankfully, as soon as she gets any updates there. It'll also be useful for us to know, if it is Hosanna, then we kind of write him off for the afternoon, and then it can help plan our attack, possibly, for where we should drive around. I didn't get your name quite clearly, but you'll know who you are. You'd like to know how often do leopard takeovers fail? Campus. Tampus. My confused face. Hampus, with an H. Oh. Okay. Hello, Hampus. There we go. Sorry it took so long. I'm basically deaf, as you can tell. Sheesh, that's a very tricky question to answer. I'm trying to think where I should begin. The fact that in all my years, Hampus, I've never once, I've once seen two big male leopards side by side sleeping. Sadly they weren't interacting when I got there. That was Tingana and another male called the Anderson male across on Arathusa, probably to our west when we used to traverse there. But I mean, in all my years of guiding, a lot of which have been in the Sabi Sands, which is a wonderful place to view leopards, I've seen very, very few interactions, just that one between males. And I think it's difficult. Yeah, it's such a tricky question to answer. That's why I'm giving you nothing, because I'm trying to make some sense of this. I don't want to just splurt something out. I don't know. I don't know how often they fail. You'd probably have to take an individual male leopard and follow him as he starts coming of age, and then see, like, who chases him and where he moves to. And you probably find that a young male may fail on a number of occasions. They may come in and, like, have a debate with an established male and then realize, oh, geez, I'm not willing to take on this guy, until they've moved further enough and got big enough and strong enough and worldly enough to eventually, and lucky enough to eventually get their own turf. I just heard another report today from Michael Fleetwood, who's been doing an incredible job researching the Hukumuri male, and a big thanks for your research on that, Michael, if you're watching. Apparently the Hukumuri male came from about roughly 100 kilometers away, about 60 miles away. He was seen there 2 years ago, and a year ago he was seen about, I'd say, 30 to 40 kilometers to the north of us. So from Crocodile Bridge, where he was seen in 2015, to the Timbavati, where he was seen in 2016, to down here, let me try and draw it on my map for you. I mean, it's some major distances, and that indicates that he would have been failing a lot of the time, or just, not having full-blown attempts. This is the Kruger National Park. Mos. That stands for Mozambique, all the way along the eastern boundary of the Kruger's Mozambique. And Crocodile Bridge Gate's probably somewhere about here, we somewhere about here, and Timbavati somewhere about here. And I've tried to draw that to scale, so I'd guess that's probably, you know, roughly 70 miles. This is probably 60 miles. And then from the Timbavati back to us is probably about 20 miles roughly. So he's moved a huge distance in the last 2 years, and how many times he would have failed and the other males would have been successful, I'm not sure anyone knows. And again, we spend a lot of time out here every single day trying to follow these leopards as closely as we can, and even though we do that, there are still massive chunks of information missing. When Tingana came in and asked Mvula, we had no idea of how that went down. We didn't see one interaction, not even anything, when that whole takeover took place. So to be able to answer a question like that, therefore, becomes difficult. Wonderful. We're going to continue on. I'm hoping Shidulu, a female leopard we haven't seen very often, pokes her head up around one of these corners. This is a new road where she has been seen doing her business. And while we do that, we are going to send you back to Taylor. Maybe she's got an update on who that male is.
I'm not actually sure. I'm still waiting for a response from either Dylan or Sheldon of Chitwa Chitwa to find out exactly who they had, because they were actually on their way into that sighting. Maybe we bump into them a bit later. But we do not have a leopard in the tree. We have got a Wahlberg's eagle. And funny enough, on Bushwalk, we were looking at the pale morph, some of you may remember, sitting up in its tree above its nest. This is not the pale morph. This is the brown one, the brown Wahlberg's eagle, the traditional color. And very easy to identify because it has got that little crown on the back of its head. It sort of stands up. The wind is sort of exaggerating it a bit this afternoon. And Conrad, you are wondering what's happened to its feathers. I think it's just the wind, to be honest. I reckon the wind is pushing up from behind it and just separating its feathers a little bit. They do look slightly on the untidy side. Perhaps this one needs to visit the hairdresser and get all those little hooks realigned again. Conrad, who I assume we're talking about one of our engineers, our technical geniuses, his classic South African response was yo. Now, you spell yo, Y-O-H, and you can use that word for a number of different things. When you're excited, yo. Or when you're sad, yo. You can see the animals are a little bit slow today. I'm sorry. So yeah, so that's a great way. I wonder if Kirsten's not saying anything because they're also all laughing in final control. I hope it, or maybe they're shaking their head. Maybe they're going, "Yo." That's the third way. So you can do yours 3 different ways, and you'll hear every South African say it. And does it? And surprised, "Yo." I have 4 of them, so it actually doesn't. It doesn't matter from where you are in South Africa. I promise you right now, you only need to have a 5-minute conversation with one of us, and we will slip the word "you're" in, no problem. We all do it a lot. Actually, Darby, in camp, all the time. So yes, so I think. Oh, goodness, I got the giggles. That was quite funny, though. But I can just hear Conrad as also going, "Yo," saying it in his voice. Oh, you know, it's so nice having the SAS Queen on board today. Of course, that's Kirsty, the one and only. She says that all of you are laughing at me, not with me. So thank you. That's fine. As long as you're giggling, that's all right. I hope you're also maybe shaking your head and doing that, yo. But we didn't actually really have much time to talk about the Wahlberg's eagle. I think we got distracted by a butterfly. Hey, David, we did totally get distracted by a butterfly. So I don't know for how much longer we're going to be seeing these birds. I mean, typically they leave in about April, so that's coming through soon. Well, going back to your story, thanks, Nancy Drew. You're wondering if it's kind of like shame. Yeah, shame Shame is another one in South Africa that you can use for so many different things. So what can you do? Also, you know, somebody's just passed away. You can go, shame. I'm really sorry about that. That's terrible news. Or what else can we use shame for, Darby? Trying to think. We use shame a lot. Oh, yes. Shame piece is actually what it is. If something is cute, Kirsty is saying on the radio. So, like, we could say it at Wahlberg's Eagle. Shame piece. It's so cute. Yeah, right. So you could also do that. South Africans are really interesting. I reckon we are the most unique nationality in the world. Just for the different words that we use, they don't really make sense, but you know we understand what we mean. Anybody else that comes from across the world is very much confused. So I do recommend trying to find a book before you come to South Africa on the local lingo, so you can understand. Otherwise, you're going to be, you know, a bit confused and, well, we don't want that. We want you to feel comfortable. So this bird, I think, is just keeping out of the wind at the moment. It's not a very good day to be flying around. And I'm not sure that battalier that Steve had, if it was flying or not, or if it also had perched itself. I can't imagine we're going to see too many of them moving around. Also, it's quite cool. So perhaps squirrels, perhaps the rodents and things, they're not going to be out and foraging just yet. I wouldn't imagine any little creatures want to be out in this very windy weather. It'll be a bit daunting for them, as well, anything could swoop from above them or, you know, snatch them in the grass. So they need to be careful. But it is still on high alert. It is still looking around. But very nice. And I hope that they do stick around for quite long. Sometimes we get a few birds that aren't quite ready to go back home. Not that these guys have to go too far. They are only intra-African migrants, so no crossing of big oceans for them. Right, but that was quite cool. We're going to go up and down the airstrip and see if anything has crossed it other than an aeroplane. Steve, however, has got an animal that would be able to feed off of the marooder that this Wahlberg eagle is sitting in.
Thank you very much. We have found him again. Another opportunity to show off his beautiful self. This very tall male giraffe that we spent some time with this morning and yesterday. And I marvel at the fact that he's busy feeding on a tambourti tree. I really do marvel at that ability. And I've no doubt that there must be some coprophagy that goes down when they are younger. Coprophagy is when an individual eats the feces of another to get the gut enzymes and microorganisms that help to break down certain plant parts and materials. Because to you and I, that tambourti would kill us. And he is just putting it in his mouth and munching it and swallowing. So I find it quite interesting that the giraffe is able to do that. He is a beautiful boy, isn't he? We're just listening in the background too. There was some Franklin alarm calling a moment ago. Trying to hear if they make another noise. We have a vehicle coming up from behind, so we're going to move out of the way because we are blocking the road. Smile for the camera one more time, boy. And we're going to just move out the way of a landowner that's coming through. Isn't he beautiful? Smile for the camera. He is a beautiful boy, and he has been the star, I think yesterday morning, this morning, and this afternoon. There we go, Ravi. We do find animals from time to time. Then if any of you saw how he contrasted or blended in with the russet bush willow pods that were just behind his back. Quite marvelous. Hello, Mina. How often do we communicate with other guides? Well, you see I've got this earpiece in my ear here. I not only have Kirsten, the director, or whoever else is directing, talking to me quite regularly, I also have radio. It's quite difficult to talk. So, that's not going on. and that is how we maximize the area that we go on. But it seems as if the Wild Earth team... Okay, we're going to lose the signal now. Apologies for the gremlins. I'll continue my story afterwards, but let's go over to Taylor down at Chitwa.
Sorry, everybody. Right, but you are back with me. Don't worry, we won't hold you for too long. And so we just went down the airstrip. We were flapping our arms. We didn't take off. We tried really hard, though, Darby and I. But anyways, we didn't see any leopard tracks. Now I'm checking here because this is a favorite spot of Hosanna and even Tumba. He used to love it down here. And I suppose we've always got Tingana. But the only thing I'm a little bit worried about is that I can't get to Tingana's favorite spot, which is behind the dam wall. We may have to try and pull a sneaky maneuver and see if we can't lurk around there. Maybe we'll get lucky. Or actually, I'm just trying to figure out what room those guests are in. We might be able to go down the little slip road and head to the sort of most eastern corner of the dam. I'm gonna have to. I think I might have to. If I can't radio Sheldon and Dylan, I might have to give them a call and see if we can do it that way. Oh, David, you know what I have just seen? What's caught my eye? It's the sun. Well, a little bit of it. How's that? It's not, I mean, it's not amazing, but I think it's quite beautiful. It's better than watching the back of my ponytail blow in the wind. You can see it's trying its absolute best to try and get through the clouds, but it's not quite winning. So that's what we've got to deal with. So let's hope that the wind continues to blow and hopefully blows some of those clouds away. So we can see a bit of a sunset, because at this rate, not looking too pretty, I'm afraid. Not too pretty. Actually, David, this is where the gymnogene nest is. I couldn't remember which road it was, but I do remember it was in a balanites tree. Is that okay if I do that? Oh, there we go. So everyone, we do have the rain roof, of course, on. Now, just before I left for Kenya, do you remember that we saw a pair of African harrier hawks, the gymnogenes? We saw one yesterday in the afternoon on safari too. And they were building away at this nest. And I never got to see the ending of it. So maybe you'll have to help me. Did they lay any eggs? Well, not that you can see inside it. Did Tristan ever come back? Because he was quite excited about this. Did anything happen here? I mean, at the moment, it kind of looks a bit dismal. It doesn't look like it's an active nest at the moment. But that was also around August last year. So kind of the wrong time now. Anyway, it's a good one to keep an eye out for, because they should theoretically also use the same nest every now and then. Unless another pair has come through and kicked them out. That was quite nice. Now I remember where it was. Nice just stumbling across these things. Off we go. Let's see. Okay. Might try and give Dylan and Sheldon a call now to find out which room the guests are in and see if we can do a bit of sneaking to get to the dam. Scotty D is also still just bumbling about on Juma, waiting for something to cross his path.
Yes, and it appears like it's a tree that's crossed our path. Fascinating. It is quite interesting, though. The elephants have been absolutely murdering these trees, which are called silver cluster leaves. And I'm not entirely sure why, because they hardly feed on them. But there must be some reason. There must be something they're feeding on. There's quite a few seed pods at the moment. I'll just stop the car and Seb can zoom in on one of the seed pods. There we go. But I'm not convinced it's that they're feeding on. They're the kind of orangey purple thingy that kind of looks like a leaf, but it's a seed. But literally, I mean, in the last 2 weeks, the amount of these trees that I've seen being massacred is quite horrifying. And I don't remember it happening in the past at this time of the year. If it was like kind of a yearly little snack or feast on these trees, then maybe it's just my memory. But interesting stuff. This is the She's probably the 10th decent sized tree that I've seen pushed over by Ellies. Scarlett, you would like to know what is going to happen with the coloration of the grass and I guess also the leaves of most of the trees. It's going to die. Going into our winter. Winter is our dry season here. The majority of South Africa has a rainy summer and a dry winter, all except for the kind of southern tip around the Cape, where they've got more of a Mediterranean climate, which is the opposite. So yes, it is going to become lots of browns and yellows and oranges. A lot of the trees will actually, the leaves will actually fall off the trees. It'll become a lot more open, far easier for tracking. It's definitely my favorite time of the year in the Lowveld. Aesthetically, as well as in terms of just being able to function more effectively during the daylight hours, and in conjunction with the animals, who tend to be more active during the cooler winter days than they do during the hot summer days. So yeah, I much prefer the Lowveld winter. You can be out on game drive for the entire day comfortably. Sure, the mornings are quite fresh and so are the evenings, but summer you're so limited by the temperatures, both us and the animals, that it would almost make sense to be out after dark and not during the day, in my opinion. Although you do get a kind of exceptions to the rule. Today is a cool afternoon, so there's a chance that whatever predators are about could be moving about. Magic. Well, it sounds like Steve has hopped out of the vehicle and is exploring a termite mound.
Thank you, Scotty. Yes, we have found a termite mound, but that is not the reason for stopping. This is by far the most impressive tambuti tree I have ever seen in my entire life. It is possible that there's more than one growing here because there's a lot of fluted stems coming out of the base of this termite mound. And what we know about tambuti is that it likes to be near water. We're not far from the drainage depression here, but also this large fungus growing termite has got access to the water table, and so hence a tree like this would grow very, very well. Probably the best, definitely the best example that I've ever seen. African sandalwood. The wood is phenomenal for making furniture tables, and a prize wood for making rifle stocks. So earlier I was talking about taking a sample of a plant, and remember I spoke about latex. I'm going to just cut this branch here. I'm going to bring it over to you carefully. Remember I was talking just briefly now about that giraffe feeding on the tambuti. And here I'm going to show you why we can't do it. I'm not going to burn myself. I'm going to burn Senzo because he likes to get burnt. I'm only joking. I wouldn't burn you, Sens. Okay, so we're going to go onto the dashboard over here, and where I have plucked the branch, and you can see that there's a milky latex at the base there. Is that clear? Might not be that clear, but if I pluck one of the leaves and then I show you the leaf there, look at that milky latex there. Now, that is an indication that a plant is not advised to be put anywhere near your skin, your eyes, or your mouth. And hence the giraffe was feeding on it. So how it's able to digest and consume these leaves is beyond me. But if you happen to have a very bad tooth and very, very sore tooth, and you had no way of getting to the dentist, just that little drop of that tambuti sap on your tooth would deaden that nerve, and you'd probably enjoy the rest of your weekend in the bush without having to go to an emergency dentist. So quite helpful, but a drop of that in your eye will blind you. So how is it that the giraffe has managed to do this? I am not sure, but it must have to do with long time of sort of evolution adaptation, just like how some people can eat very spicy food and I cannot. Okay, so that is the tambuti, and a magnificent specimen at that. Thanks, Sens. So we've made our way back into sort of the eastern side. Maybe I can just show you again briefly on the map so that we all get accustomed. Yes, okay, so we came down from Treehouse Dam, we went along this road, we went down Weaver's Nest, along the firebreak, hoping to see if that male leopard crossed back in again, came past Twin Dams, Nothing what to speak of any tracks. And then we're now along Mamba. There's actually a new road over here along the drainage line or the river depression. Just see that faint line over there? That is the Milwaukee, or a section of it. Okay, so we are heading in easterly direction. And so to continue on with the discussion about the game drive. So the game drive radio is useful in the fact that we were told, or Taylor was told, that that male leopard was on his way into our property. And I was obviously live with you and I wasn't hearing it because I struggle to hear the game drive radio in full swing and Kirst talking to me at the same time while talking to you. So I often turn the game drive radio down when I'm live, purely because it's a little bit too much to deal with in the head. So I missed whatever update she sent, and then Scott communicated that with me, and then I communicated back with Scott, and then short and sweet, we ended up going into the area and the leopard had crossed back again. So we have two different radio channels. One is for our section in the west and the other one is for the section in the east. So Taylor's on a different radio station at the moment, and so we don't hear the comms happening that side. So often they will get on our radio or tell someone like Taylor, or WhatsApp is a reality these days. Oh no, we have the same dilemma as Scott. We have also got a, looks like a terminalia blocking our path. This will be fun. Senzo is feeling strong. Are you feeling strong? Are you feeling stronger than Seb did this morning? Because he didn't even get out the car. I think we can try pull it. Yeah. Kirsty, are you going to link away or you want to watch us pull this? I think it might be entertaining, but I think it's also going to be quite heavy. Senzo, are you going to come? I'm going to need an extra set of hands here because this looks heavy. This looks very heavy, and yet an elephant just smashed it effortlessly. Oh, Senzo, this is going to be very heavy. Okay, come on, 4. And 4 is the Zulu for brother. So 4, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Almost there. One more push. Yeah, Senzo is making some amazing sound effects. A+ from Kirst. One more sense, one more, and we're off the road. Ah, well done. Well done, well done. Okay. That was a good teamwork. Seb, next time. Well, it sounded like Senzo did more than me because I think he would be a good tennis player with the noises he was making there. But an elephant just smashed that with absolutely no effort. No effort at all. And you saw that was not very easy. We were a little bit out of breath. But good to get off and stretch our legs and get the oxygen flowing again. Okay, so after our exertion, let's go over to Taylor and see what she's up to.
Well, we've just come across some really, really bizarre tracks. If you look a little bit further, I had to reverse quite far away because of the tire. But basically, I'm going to point them out with my finger. So I'm just going to show you from a distance. It's those tracks. David, what do you think about if I go a bit closer and then turn the car sideways? Do you think that'll be better? Let's have a look. I don't know what... I have an idea. I have an idea of what they could be, but we're going to play a tracking game now, and you've got to all guess what we're looking at. Should I do this side? Is that too close? Is that good? There we go. So they come across the road and they look like they're going in the direction of the dam. So maybe that's going to help you out. Hashtag Safari Live if you think you know what has left this track in the road. It's an interesting one. Kirsten has said a platypus. Maybe. Maybe there's a platypus. A hyena! Sorry, we got so distracted on the tracking we didn't even see. And it's smelling us. I bet it's probably been watching us going, what on earth are these people doing? Have they even seen me? Off it goes. Well, I hope you took some screenshots. Let's have one more look at the track and then we're going to go follow the hyena because it's the most exciting thing we've seen all afternoon. Have one more look at those tracks. Carla, you've guessed, is it a big snake? Maybe. Unfortunately not, but good guessing. There we go. Share those screenshots. Try and figure out what they are. Can always come back to them. I'm going to drive over them now, however. Joy, you've said, is it Ronald? That was a good guess. Sadly, it's not Ronald. Ronald is a rover. He looks like he was built for the moon. Basically like a remote control moon vehicle, but goes on the ground. Ooh, we're getting closer. Peter Panda, you've said a crocodile. Almost, but not quite. Let's get a few more guesses in. A steenbok. Oh, the hyena is now chasing after the steenbok, is it? I saw the hyena's head pop up here. At least you've said a tractor. Good guess. No, unfortunately not a tractor. Hello, hyena. You look like you've been sitting in the mud. I bet you're all very excited because we do love hyenas. Cenac, another good guess from all of you. Loving all the water animals. You said a water monitor. I think it might be a little bit large for a water monitor. We'll get back to that, though. We can see this hyena's definitely been sitting in the mud. Just its bottom, though, in the mud, and the rest of its body, it seemed to have kept nice and dry, not so dirty. And swallow it again. Where are you going, hyena? Maybe it's also going to go and check the tracks out and have a good guess. Elemental, you said you think that it may have been a tortoise. That'd be the world's largest tortoise. If we had Galapagos tortoises, possibly. No, hyena, because if you go running, I'm most certainly not going to be able to keep up with you. And try and keep up with this hyena and see where it heads to. I think it is going to the tracks. Hold on. Okay, sorry, can I have Jason's answer again? It can't be a hippo. Maybe, it could be. A hippo with a sore leg, perhaps, if it was dragging it. Where's this hyena? Sorry, I'm focusing on the road. I was just off-roading for a minute. It's coming around here. Consumer, also, great guess. You said, did an elephant make that track? No. Loving all the guesses, though. But this hyena's walking straight towards us now, which is fantastic. It seems to be smelling the air quite a bit. Looking for something. Maybe it's looking for a leopard to follow. Or perhaps a kill to scavenge. Maybe it's also just searching for another hyena. Now, you all are guessing water monitors and rock monitors. Good guesses, but unfortunately that's not it. Here the hyena goes again, running right past the car. Where are you going? Don't go to the dam, please, because we can't go down there. Crossing the road where that animal left the tracks, not stopping to take a look or to have a guess. Very unhappy blacksmith lapwing. And here we go. Andy has guessed correctly. Andy says a honey badger riding a dwarf mongoose. Well done, Andy. I love all the guesses, and we'll get to the answer in a minute, I promise, because you're all getting very close. I just want to spend a little bit more time with this hyena, seen as though we have an animal, and this is a live safari show. So it's actually going down towards Chitwa now. You'll be able to see the thatched rooms. Where are you going? It's actually going in the direction that we've just come from, down back into the drainage line, but we don't really have any fantastic signal down there. So there's one of the rooms at Chitwa. Beautiful camp, might I add. Off it goes. Maybe it's going to the kitchen. Maybe it's going to try and scavenge for scraps, because that is a hyena's favorite thing to do. But unfortunately heading to a spot now where we can't go. So why don't we go back to those tracks? And then we'll show you. We'll get out and demonstrate. Cool. Okay, well, we're going to just try and find them again on the stretch of road. It seems as though Steve is finding all the battaliers in the Sabi Sands.
Thanks, Taylor. I hope you find what you're looking for there. We continued on along this road after our exertion and after we've caught our breath, and we have once again found another battalier, and it is again a male. You can see it's lacking the miniskirt on the lower wings there, and he's on a nest. How amazing is that? So I've never actually ever encountered a Battalier nest before. I mean, I know about their breeding, but I've never ever found a nest. So this is quite nice to see. It's visible from the road, only about 40 yards or so off in a large knobthorn acacia tree, which is one of their preferences. They also will use jackleberries as well as sycamore figs. Any large tree that's got a fair amount of leaf material, and they'll do a nice platform nest. It's primarily built by the male, which is quite interesting. It takes about 6 weeks to do, and the breeding time is sort of between January and June, but the peaking is about now, March and April. So that nest looks pretty complete. It's just waiting for his wife to come along and lay some eggs, I think. So once the stick construction is formed, he'll line it with lots of leafy green material for comfort. A nice little nest, as you would call it, nice bedding in the nest. And usually when they lay eggs, it'll only be about one. It's quite common in eagles to lay two as a sort of a security. And you get those behaviors known as siblicide or canism, when the one individual eats the other or kills the other. Battaliers, it's most common that they only have one, but they will lay a second egg soon after an unsuccessful clutch. And that takes about 55 days or so to incubate. Marvelous. Be good. We're going to document this, spend some time in the area, and see if we can watch more of this beautiful behavior. So have got a very beautiful face. You notice how the wings tuck down there, right down at the bottom, and the tail is almost invisible. Also previously known as the short-tailed eagle. The individuals take 7 years to reach breeding plumage. Okay, so we're going to go over to Scott and see what he has for you. See you soon.
Hello everyone. So we've come across an interesting scene here, and it appears that these drop-tail ants are moving houses. There's a frenzy of activity here, and they appear to be moving from the base of this little tree, which is called a black monkey orange, and I can see their hole right at the base, and they're carrying small larvae actually in their mouth that are of their own species. They're their own kind. I've plonked my phone down there to do a bit of a time lapse of all the movement to try and show you how ferociously these guys are moving. And then, interestingly, they're moving across the road, and I can show you where they're moving to. It's probably a total of about 8 meters, but I mean, for an animal this small, it's quite a distance. And what's further interesting is that they've moved to the base of this very same type of tree, another black monkey orange over here. And quite a few of them are carrying the little larvae in their mouth, but some of them aren't. And I'm guessing the ones that aren't are there for protection. I've had quite a few of them biting onto me when I got too close. So clearly they're defending the ones that are doing the heavy lifting. And it's really interesting. You can actually, I mean, it's going to be difficult to see. Sadly, we can't bring the big camera down. But some of the larvae are actually more developed than the others. You'll notice that some have started going kind of more brownish coloration. And there are some that are a paler kind of white color. Here's 2 good examples here, Seb. Next to one another. The bar. I'm just trying to tread lightly here. Oh, and my phone fell over. Well, let's just stop it. It might be a bit short. Even the ants were attacking the phone. So let's see how it came out. It's probably, like I say, gonna only been running for not long enough, so it'll be very, very short, the time lapse, but It'll be quite interesting to see all the motion and action. Here goes. Eee! How cool is that? Incredible. So, lots and lots and lots of hustling, and I'm guessing that this was only about 6 minutes, 7 minutes of the time lapse running. It actually, maybe it was for slightly longer. The end. Pretty crazy when you speed things up to give you a good idea of what's going on. Cool. So, Sinak, you'd like to know what animals eat ants in the bush. Quite a lot of the ants are distasteful, but a lot of the reptiles will eat them, lizards, frogs, the birds, some of the birds will feed on them. Pangolin will feed on ants from time to time. So, yeah, what else is going to be feeding on ants? Other ants often are their own worst enemy. They'll often raid other species of ants and steal the larvae from other types of ant species. Who else am I forgetting here? That's about all I've got for you, Sinak. Clearly nothing's interested in feeding on those guys. They're too ferocious. Very good. Now I'm told Taylor is testing your guys' skills, and we're going to send you on back to continue with the track quiz.
Yeah, we thought we'd keep this going, seeing as though no one was able to get the right answer. Are you ready for the big reveal? I'm going to get out, if I can fit, and now show you what we have. Let me just put my cable away. It's the only thing with these earpieces and things and wires. Well, they're everywhere. So, the tracks come from here, and the reason why I said it like they were going in the direction of the dam is it might be difficult to see. You almost need to be higher up and down here with me. Bushwalk would have been great for this. Is you can see how flat the ground is over here. So the ground is particularly flat here, and it almost looks like there's a toe that's just moving, sort of shuffling. Also, I can't describe the pattern to you. It almost looks like a crocodile pattern of their skin over here, and then it continues all the way and slides up the bank. So you would think a crocodile, but it isn't. It was me. I actually left some tracks on the road there. Was it this morning, David? I discovered that if I did this with my shoes, this road's a little bit sandy. I just did the shuffle. Was you going to dedication? I keep myself entertained, as you can see. And what we're going to do, though, is we're going to leave these here for the Chitwa guides or anybody else that can traverse here and see what they have to say. If they spot the bizarre tracks. I feel like I should have written my name in the sand somewhere else, a little bit further down, saying # you got tricked. I wonder if they're going to think it's a drag mark or something like that. So sorry for all of you that were trying to guess. I was obviously just trying to keep myself entertained on Game Drive this afternoon. So there we go. There are the tracks. Oh, you know what I should have done was actually gone around them. Because normally what happens is that when you are tracking, say, a leopard or something, you can kind of see if somebody has seen the tracks before you, because if the tracks all of a sudden here, you would do that. And you would look down. So now I know for next time when I try and trick people, I'll have to do it properly. That's rude, Kirsten says Monique was the closest because she guessed an elf. Thank you. Not you, Monique. I know you would never say such a thing, but Kirsten, on the other hand. Oh, did she say that? Oh, okay, never mind. Then Kirsten, you out. Okay, fine. I'll take that. Ah, goodness gracious. Is the safari almost finished yet? No, I'm just teasing. I'm only teasing. No, we're actually getting to the most exciting part now, where it's starting to get nice and cool. The sun, unfortunately, has disappeared behind the clouds. The clouds not thin out like we were hoping for. And let's see if anybody's going to get on the move. I'm still going to hang around in this area quite close to the dam, because we know Tingana likes to... Hang on. These are new. These are very new, David. Leopard Tracks. Actually, we're going to have a very quick look. This is for reals. This is not a drill. Those are Leopard Tracks. Those were not here. Those are on top of my tire tracks. Let's see. Hold on, David. Those are very fresh. I'm just trying to follow them. Still going. Can you see him? Hang on. You see anything? David thought he saw something. No, that's an impala. Where did these footprints go now? Not the impala. Keep going. Are you talking about the footprints? Or the actual leopard? Do you think so? Oh my goodness. Are we playing Chase the Leopard? We have got a leopard. Amazing. On the Termite Mound. I'm glad I didn't get out of the car to check where those tracks are. That was perfect timing. So sometimes me being a little bit on the silly side actually pays off, because otherwise I probably would have carried on driving and then been in front of this leopard and never even known it was here. But who have we got? Who have we got? I'm going to have a little squiz with my binoculars as well. I saw some blue eyes there. Did you see those, Darby? No. Very difficult to tell right now whether it's a male or a female. But there was also an impala, a couple of impala in the area. But this leopard is not looking at the impala right now. I wonder who this is. I can't see a big notch in the left ear, which would indicate that it's Hosana. How incredible was that? How was that? How on earth was that timing? David, you've guessed Tumba. I also thought so. That's why I mentioned the sort of slight blue tinge in the eyes. It doesn't look like a big male leopard. But because it's concealed, we can't rule out a female just yet. And we can't see the spot pattern either. That was so cool. He or she must have been hiding. I think it is Tumba. But it is just quite difficult to tell at this angle. It would be very nice if this leopard could look towards us. There we go. Come on, look to us. There we go. Yes, Tumba. That looks like Tumba to me. What is everybody saying, Kirst? Everybody agreeing? Especially now that it turned its head. Yeah, I think it is Tumba. Ooh, that's exciting. Just when I thought our afternoon was going to be a little bit on the quiet side, our luck has changed. Now I don't have to be silly anymore to keep you all entertained. I can actually be a proper safari guide. Thank you, Tumba. Everybody's very grateful. Every person watching is very grateful for you. They don't have to listen to me being silly anymore. Now, as you can see, he's got the wind in his favor. I can see the wind blowing, or the grass blowing towards his face. I do apologize. I have a tickle in my throat. And there is one impala ram that has separated himself from the herd, just over here, which is what I thought David was talking about initially. I don't think that this impala knows that Tumba is here, but look at the big open gap that he's got to try and cross. He's got about 40 meters of open area, not even any grass to hide behind, no matter how flat he made himself. He'll be exposed. So you have to think of a different game, perhaps going back down the Termite Mound and going off to the left, well, not to the right, sorry, to his right, and going all the way around, maybe coming up from behind. I mean, he's definitely focused. Sorry, I think I'm going to have a little sip of water. Something is just tickling my throat and it will not go away. No, still not better. He seems to be focused now, though. Impala has also sort of turned his back slightly. And Impala's not really paying any attention. Right, I think I need to do a big cough to try and get rid of this tickle. So while I try and clear my throat and Tumba rests his eyes, let's go back across to Scott.
Well done, Taylor. And how cool is that? I can't believe that his tracks were on top of hers. And what a good tracking quiz that was. Cool stuff. And also, not just nice that she's found a leopard, but really interesting that Tumba's moved all that way. Pleasant surprise. I mean, young males, of course, can wander around, and they do wander around quite a lot, but as far as we were aware, he'd been kind of camping out quite a lot in the northwestern section of Djuma, and he's headed in the opposite direction, southeast, way off Djuma, onto Chitwa. So, interesting stuff. It seems like him and Hosanna have maybe done a swap. Hosanna's ordinarily been hanging out a lot there. Wonderful. Not too many updates from us, just cruising around, hoping for the Shidulu female. She's a very pretty female leopard. Robbie, you'd like to know if I think there are some unknown creatures left here in Africa. Yeah, I guess insects, amphibians, some fish maybe. I don't think there's any mammals that are going to surprise us. But who knows, maybe there's some small mammals deep and dark in some dark jungle on the continent. Maybe one or two birds in those forests. There's some massive rainforests in Central and West Africa where there could be some animals hiding out. So yeah, maybe, you know, maybe a few, but I'm no expert on the matter. But I think, you know, every now and then, even in this day and age, there are still a few insects that are being found. I think they're probably the largest kingdom of animals that would still be undiscovered here. But the rest are probably, a lot of them are spoken for, would be my guess. Some hyena tracks there that got me excited for a second. Okay, well, I'm hoping Taylor has rectified her ticklish throat, and she would like you guys to jump back on board with her in Tumba.
Well, no, yes and no. I haven't quite fixed the tickle in my throat. It doesn't seem to want to go away. Now, we actually repositioned as well. We came around the front of the Termite Mound and put ourselves in a different spot so we could see more of him. And just to confirm, it definitely is Tumba. It does not look like the young Prince Hosanna. His eyes are too blue to be Hosanna. Hosanna's got the most gorgeous golden eyes. I say this and then I hope. Also, Hosanna's got a nick in his left ear, although Tumba's got a slight one. I feel like it's more exaggerated on Hosanna. A little bit. And he's listening in front, listening behind. The impala has moved off though. What you doing? Scratching? He's doing a bit of a stretch. I don't know what this cat is going to do next. I wonder what he is. It's also hard to see how full he is. We know he's devoured quite a bit of a kudu over the last couple of days, but unfortunately had it stolen by hyena. But at least he got to feed off it for quite some time. And now he's in search of his next meal. Very cool. Well, we're definitely not going to go anywhere. We've got a school drive joining us soon, and I bet they're going to be excited to see a leopard. Steve, however, has found an animal much larger than Tumba.
Much larger indeed, Taylor. Well done on finding Tumba. How marvellous is it that he's walked so far? We found a small breeding herd of elephants with what seems to be a very new addition to their herd, just trundling along there. She is gorgeous. Let's go a little bit further forward and see if we can get another look at them. They're quite relaxed. There's some younger ones that are playing a few sort of silly buggers with us, but it's the big females that you need to watch out for. Like this big female on the left there. She is the one who is in charge, the one who's busy smashing that Terminalia silver cluster leaf. See, they're going into the bushes. We might not get them for too long. Let's have a little look if I can sneak up behind them here. They are marvellous animals to spend time with. Hello, youngster. Let me just try to get ahead of them here a little bit. They seemingly have come from Buffelshoek Dam. We're up in the northeastern section of our area. How's it? Yes, always excited to see Ellie's. And it's marvellous. Look at that female. She's actually busy feeding on the Terminalia nut itself, the silver cluster leaf. I'm sure it's the pods that they're after. Scott is also perplexed as to why they are eating them. But it must be the pods. As I demonstrated on Bushwalk, they are quite sweet. But she's eating the entire branch there. Very interesting. But it seems to be mainly pods in that section that she's got. Let's just move up a little bit further once that elephant moves out of shot, because we've got a little youngster just up here on the left. Bear with us. Let's see if we can... Sorry about the pole, folks. As I mentioned, we do have the roof on this afternoon because there are some looming clouds around. And we don't want to get as wet as we did last week. We've learnt our lesson. We're prepared for all eventualities. Always running after Mum. It's okay, Mum. We're just here to say hello. Yeah, maybe there's a little gap there. Sense it's going to come through that gap right now. There she or he is. Hello, little one. It's a very awkward age for elephants this time of year. Because they're... Oh, we're going to go to Taylor quickly. Tumba's moving.
Tumba is on the move and he's making a dash for where that impala is. We're going to try and just sit back just a little bit as to not make that impala aware of his presence. See how he's stopped now? He's using the wattle as a barrier. He didn't have much of a barrier at all. Like I said, he basically just ran across the open area, trying to get across it as quick as possible. Let's see where he's going to go now. Once he goes into that wattle, we'll maybe drive around and try and get a better position. Kind of just slinking. I think let's try and get round. Darby will go on the road. And I'm going to keep my distance. I'm just trying to think now if we're going to go on the road or if we should stick here. Let's go on the road to try and not make too much noise. I'm going to go... I don't want to go crashing over trees and branches now. We're just going to watch him here. Did I park right in the pole? Typical. I tried to do the roll and failed miserably. Sorry, everybody. We're going to sit like this. The reason why I say so is then if he does start stalking even any closer, we'll head over this little rise. We're also concealing ourselves from the impala now. But you can just see, being very patient. And this is fantastic hunting weather. There he goes again. He's getting very close now. Cool. Kirst, let me reposition one more time, and then I think we should do our little broadcast. Darby, do you mind if I just go up this little hill? Come on, be quiet, Jigger. Our impala has got a bit of a limp as well. Okay, we do have the rain roof on. Okay, everybody, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit quietly because we are going to do a little bit of a sneaky broadcast. Good afternoon and welcome to your private live safari. We are sitting with a young male leopard and its prey just in sight. My name is Taylor McCurdy and on camera with me today is David. And we're very, very lucky to be sitting out here in the middle of the Sabi Sand in South Africa watching one of the most amazing cats, a leopard, potentially stalk its prey. Now that's an impala. I do have to tell you every now and then there is the odd bar as we have our rain roofs on because the clouds and the sky is quite ominous this afternoon. And if you haven't joined us before, it's great to have you for the first time. And you can actually interact with me. Like I said, this is live, so all you have to do is comment away. Now, for those of you that do follow Safari Live, you might be quite excited to see that this is a young male leopard by the name of Tamba. He's not even 2 years old yet. He's only about just over a year and a half, in fact. And he's already quite happily hunting for himself, which is quite amazing for such a young cat. And he's spotted his prey. Look at him. You can see how intently, both ears focused. And the impala that he's going after, or seems to be showing some interest in, has got a slight limp. So that is really, really good news for us this afternoon, because even though we want the impala to get away, to survive, that young male leopard does not have his mother to rely on and to bring him food anymore. So he's got to do this all by himself. Now, Manix, you're wondering if this is really live? Yes, it is. It is indeed. It's happening right now. I'll even tell you the time. It is 12 minutes past 6 Central African time. Like I said, we're in the Sabi. We're on Chitwa at the moment, and that impala seems to be heading in the direction of Chitwa Dam, perhaps going down for a bit of a sundowner, a drink of water. But will he make it there? Or is this leopard going to get him before he can make it down to have a drink? Now, it's difficult for this young cat. Firstly, he lacks experience. You can see how he's trying to conceal himself in between the trees. He's got a massive open area to cross before he can get to that impala. He's going to have to choose his next move very, very carefully. Walter, you've said that this is so amazing. It is. We're very, very lucky to be witnessing this. Like I said, this is all happening right now. Now, we don't want to be moving the car around too much. We want to try and keep our distance and give this leopard the best possible chance of catching his meal. I don't think that impala will even know that he's in there at the moment. He's tucked away. Now, Mauricia, good ears you've got this afternoon. You actually noticed that there was a bird chirping in the background, and you are wondering if it was alarming at Tamba or if it was just a normal chirping sound. It wasn't quite anything too threatening because that impala wasn't responding to that bird. I think that bird saw Tamba, saw the leopard. You can see his spots just there, and knows that there's something going on. Now, all the animals out here speak the same language, whether it's a bird shouting, leopard, leopard, the impala will understand, will become alerted. But it's also quite windy out here. So the sounds are being muffled, which will work to the leopard's advantage this afternoon. However, it's going to work to the disadvantage of the impala, unless that wind swirls and blows the scent of the leopard down to the impala. Then it stands a chance. But they've got incredible eyesight, the impala. So hopefully, while it is browsing and grazing, it pops its head up every now and then, just like that, to look around. And you see both those ears working independently, so being able to listen from one side to the other. Just popped its head up. A couple of hippos down at Chitwa Dam gave a call. And I would also be very cautious if I was a herbivore, if I was a prey species.
So everyone, if you'd like to continue watching the unscheduled broadcast, I think Facebook is your best bet. And what just happened is we just linked away from Taylor, well Kirsty did, so as to not disturb what's going on there. And the reason being is that we're about to welcome on board some school kids. So we want to try and multitask and welcome on board to all the kids who have just joined us. I wish I was you guys sitting in my classroom jumping on board a live safari all the way in Africa. And that's absolutely wonderful. Now Taylor, as you may have seen, is with a leopard that's hunting, and I'm busy trying to hunt down some some animals for myself. I haven't had much luck finding anything yet this afternoon. Oh, a hare just ran across the road. Let's see if we can't creep up to it. A hare is like a rabbit, but they are different. Hares live above the ground and rabbits live in burrows. And hares have got big ears and rabbits have got small ears, relatively speaking. Let's see if, now that it's in the long grass, it's maybe feeling a little bit more relaxed. I think it is. We should be able to get you a view of it. There it is. Hello, you. And, oh, just like a flash, it's gone. Wasn't hanging around. Oh, well done, Seb. Standing on its back legs, keeping an eye on us. And you may have noticed that we didn't get to see it for very long, but it can swivel its massive ears from side to side, depending on where it wants to listen to. And when you're that small and such long grass, it's very useful to have very good hearing so that you can detect any sneaky predators that are trying to catch you. And the leopard that Taylor is with would definitely enjoy snacking on a hare. Even though it's quite small, the predators don't have an easy job catching their food, so they have to be quite open-minded. They can't be too fussy, and sometimes they just have to take a small meal rather than no meal. That very same leopard we saw yesterday and the day before that, he had made a huge kill of an antelope called the kudu that he fed on until some hyenas came in and stole it from him. It was too big for him to take up a tree out of the reach of the hyenas, so sadly he lost that. Kale, you'd like to know if it's hot here or what the weather's doing. It's quite a cool afternoon. It's probably around 70 degrees Fahrenheit now. So it is our summer, but it has cooled down. It's been quite cloudy. We had a little bit of rain when the safari started out. But during the day here, it can get up into the 90s Fahrenheit. It can get very, very hot and sticky. But now it's quite a cool evening. There's a bit of a breeze blowing. And it'll probably be dark in about 25 minutes or so. But don't worry, we've got some fancy infrared lighting, which is basically a light that only the camera can see. When we turn it on, we don't see any light, we don't see any changes, nor do the animals, but the camera can, and that way we can film after dark without bothering the animals. You know what it's like when somebody shines a torch in your face. It's not very nice, so we try and not do that. But we do use this big spotlight over here to help find animals, and then once we found them, we switch over into the infrared. Wonderful stuff. Now, you may have got a glimpse of Taylor before you jumped on board with me. There is a third vehicle driving around this afternoon, and you'll get to meet him a little bit later. So there's 3 of us out exploring, seeing what we can find, you guys. And it sounds like Steve would like you guys to hop on board and see what he's getting up to right now.
Good afternoon or good morning, boys and girls, from all the way here in Djuma in South Africa. My name is Steve Folgenbridge, and I'm joined by Senzo Mkize on the camera. We are out on game drive safari, just like Scott Dyson, who you just chatted with now, and we are always in search of anything beautiful and wonderful. We're about to get to a dam in sort of the northeastern section of where we work, and hopefully, I'm pretty sure we'll be able to find ourselves some hippopotamuses. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Please. Sorry, we have some bad signal, and we've just bumped into some people on a game drive, and I humbly apologize for bumping into them on their sundowner. But we just want to have a quick little look at a hippo that we have just over here on their right-hand side. Sammy, we found some elephants not so long ago, just before you came on the show, but they moved off. But here we have got one of the largest African mammals, a hippo. Look at that. Aren't they glorious? And they spend most of their time in the water, and then they come out at night, probably the next hour or two, to go feed on grass. Very large animal, and they do very, very well in the water because it keeps them cool, it regulates their body temperature, and it also protects them a little bit to a degree from the sunshine. And actually means that they can behave, their behavior can behave very similarly to that of a reptile. Now, if we know reptiles, they like to sit in the sun, they use the sunshine to warm up their bodies, but a hippo is not a reptile, it is a mammal, and most mammals need to feed to control their body temperature. If you've ever noticed in the winter when you're feeling very cold and you have a nice warm meal or some soup, how warm you feel after that. But the hippo, because it lives in the water, can actually use the water to cool itself down. Oh, look at that yawn. Oh, just missed it. Sorry about the focus there. You okay there, Sens? Yeah. We just had a hippo yawn there for us. It means they're getting sort of to the point of waking up and coming out. So they feed on grass, as I said, and because they live in the water, they don't have to feed on as much grass as an animal of the same size, because they use the water to cool themselves down, and when they get too cold, they can sit in the sun. So very similar to that of a reptile. So that's how they have evolved. But the problem with hippos is that if the dams and the rivers dry up, they really, really, really struggle to look after themselves because they will dehydrate. Lauren, have I ever been hurt? She wants to know. I've never been seriously hurt. Sprained an ankle or two, scratched a knee or two, lots of thorns and spikes in the foot and in the legs, but never seriously hurt, no. Marvelous hippos. We're going to move on because we just bumped into another game drive vehicle that is having a sundowner here. Very popular thing to do on safari is you come out here and then you find a nice place to watch the sun go down and you have a few drinks and cocktails and some snacks, and it is a marvelous sort of part of what we do out here. Christian, have I ever been charged by a hippo? I've nearly been charged by a hippo. The thing is with the hippo is there's no such thing as a mock charge. All it wants to do is get back into the water. So on foot, if you happen to get between a hippo and water, you need to get out of the way. One time I was nearly charged. We were busy watching. We're all here in the up the bank. This hippo started coming down. So we seem to be losing some signal. We're going to go over to Scott. I'm sure he's in a better signal area, and I'm sure he's got wonderful stories to tell you.
Yes, I think our signal is good. My stories, well, we'll leave you to decide that. We have found a wonderfully large herd of impala who are getting ready for their night. And it's quite dark, so I think we might try and switch over. Too early for infrared? Okay. Okay, so we're not going to go into the infrared just yet. But these impala are very clever, and they are employing the safety in numbers strategy. And by having lots of eyes and ears, it means that they have a smaller chance of animals sneaking up on them. Christian, you would like to know if we do this every day, and yes, we do. For 365 days of the year, including Christmas, we go on safari. Oh, you were wondering, what is it like doing every day? Well, it's fun. It's a very fun job, I think, to drive around. Taking you guys on safaris is very fun. I like to move around, though, and we don't only have one camp. We've also got another camp up in Kenya, which is in a very different habitat to this. The area is far more open, not nearly as many bushes. You get lots of cheetah there. So I like to move around from place to place, and that helps keep it exciting. And we also can mix it up a little bit. We're not always in the vehicles. We can also do bushwalks, which helps keep us excited. But I could think of a lot of worse jobs than driving around the bush taking people on safari. A lot. But that's just me. I guess everyone's different, and that's what makes the world such a special place. Julian, you would like to know if an impala can run faster than a deer. Well, I guess it depends on what kind of deer. I know you get quite a few different types of deer in America, just like we get lots of different kinds of antelope here in Africa. Some are slightly faster than others. And I'm sure they're a similar speed. You'll probably find there's not a huge difference between your average impala and the average deer. All quite quick, far quicker than us. But I've never seen impala and deer having a race. And the reason being is that we don't actually get deer here in Africa unless they've been bought here. They don't belong here. And the main difference between deer and the antelope that live here is that deer's antlers will fall off every year and then regrow bigger, whereas the horns on the impala and the antelope here grow throughout their life. Now you'll notice that just like the deer in America, some of the female antelope don't have horns and the males do. I wonder if we can't... Oh, I'm guessing those are two young males who are already big. Yeah, you can see their tiny little horns sticking out there, and they're practicing their fighting skills for when they need to start fighting over girlfriends. It's a little bit different in the animal kingdom. The boys have to wrestle to show who's the biggest and the strongest to get girls. Not so much with us. Emma, you would like to know, why are they shaking their tails from side to side? And it's probably to keep the flies away. There's quite a few flies around at the moment, so if I had a tail, I'd also be wagging mine. There's a few flies bothering me. So that's probably the main reason why they're doing it. You'll also notice from time to time they'll flop their ears forwards and backwards. So it's almost like having a tail on your head. It keeps the flies out of their eyes and off their nostrils. These guys are all youngsters that would have been born in November or December, so they're only about 4 months old. A lot of these ones that you're looking at, the most playful ones are definitely the youngsters. And again, just like with us, you tend to find younger people having a little bit more energy than the adults, but not always. Sometimes the adults can also shake their leg. Very good. Well, it sounds like Taylor is back in action and would like to let you know what just happened with her leopard that was stalking some impala.
Hello everybody, hello. It's so exciting to have you on board the safari this afternoon. I'm really looking forward to all of your questions. My name is Taylor and behind the camera with me is David. You won't believe what we just saw. We saw a leopard and he was sneaking around. He's quite a young, he's not very experienced. He's trying to hunt an antelope called an impala. And he creeped and creeped and creeped and creeped and he got so close. But unfortunately, I think his inexperience got to him and the impala got away. And then he went off and then he decided he was done with that open area and he moved off into a spot where we unfortunately can't go driving anymore. But it was really cool. I'm sorry that you guys didn't get to see it. Maybe we're going to see another leopard on the way home. I feel like we have got lots and lots of luck this afternoon. But now that the sun has gone down, we're going to look for chameleons. Now, Ruby, you're wondering what time it is? It's just gone 6:30 Central African time, so it's the evening now here. Almost time to go home and have some dinner, in fact. But we're not going to go home just yet until we find you all a chameleon, because I'd love to find a chameleon. They're such cool creatures to look at. Maybe even an owl, or who knows, like I said, maybe another leopard is going to run across the road, or even some lions. But we're going to keep our eyes open. Steve is also keeping his eyes open, looking for all sorts of things.
Yes, I am. Thanks, Taylor. That must have been exciting, watching that male leopard moving through the grass. It's unbelievable, boys and girls, how far away it's moved. I mean, he was all the way over there, and I was all the way over there. I mean, that's quite a distance. I'd say that's about 7-8 miles. I suppose that's not actually that far in understanding of animal movement, but beautiful to see. Beautiful to see. We were very fortunate to spend time with that young male leopard for some time. So we managed to spend 3 days with them, which was marvelous. Hope would like to know how many animals we find at safari. Hope there's no set number. There are no fences. The animals move and come and go as they please. And at this time of year, it's very, very green. I'm busy using my spotlight now at night because we're looking for nocturnal animals. So predators and owls and so leopards, lions, hyenas, chameleons, anything like that that's moving at night, we're looking for with the spotlight. So we could be lucky with anything. It is a bit of a gamble. It's like playing poker. You never know if you're going to win or not. But some of us can be quite good at assuming things. So we're in an area where last a female leopard and her cub were seen. So we're hoping that with the onset of night and with a bit of wind that she might be up and trying to hunt. We don't know. I can only assume that she might come in, and that is where the luck comes in. We can't track them at night. It's very difficult to see the tracks on the road. So that's why we just drive slowly, listen for the shouts and alarm calls of the other animals, and then hopefully we can find a leopard or a lion that way. But like, for example, today has been pretty quiet for us on animals, but some days we have animals all over the place. It really depends where you are and what time of year. So nothing is set in stone. Just come here with enthusiasm, being excited, and you will see lots of animals. So with that in mind, let's go to Scotty and see what update he has for you.
Well, we had a bird in the road. It's a nocturnal bird that does its business after dark, and it sadly flew away. It wasn't an owl. Those are other nocturnal birds that like to be active after dark. It was called a nightjar, and hopefully we'll be able to find another one. They like to sit on the roads and look up into the clear skies, and when they see an insect flying above them like a moth, they fly up and catch it and then go back and land down on the road. So that's what I was hoping for, and also, just like Taylor, I'm also searching for a chameleon. It's easier to spot them after dark than it is during the day. Jackson, you would like to know if leopards are nocturnal. No, they're not strictly nocturnal, but I think it is fair to say that they do, for the most part, prefer to move under cover of darkness when a lot of their prey can't see them. But they will move during the day. Even on hot summer's days, you'll find them moving around, but just not big distances as a general rule. But like Steve just said, nothing is set in stone out here, and even though they're kind of general things that we can expect to happen, we very often get surprised by the animals out here. They don't live a life with nearly as much routine as we do, especially the predators. Some of the herbivores have got a bit of a decent routine, but the predators, because it's so difficult for them to find their food, and they don't know when they're going to find their food and how much of it they're going to find at any given time, it can be quite unpredictable when they move and when they don't. If a leopard catches something big to eat, he can feed on it for 3 days without having to go anywhere, and after that he can probably survive for 3 or 4 days without a meal. Wonderful. Well, we're going to keep scanning the bushes for anything exciting and send you back to Steve for an update on how he's getting along.
Thanks, Scotty. We just had a nightjar on the road, a beautiful bird. I don't know if Scott showed you a picture, but I can show you one shortly if Kirst can tell me whether they did. Okay, so I'll show you a little picture, because nightjars are very, very cool, camouflaged birds. We're in that area, like I said, of where that leopardess is with her cub, but we're not sure if we're going to find her. So if you just give me a small moment to just check on my phone. I've got a wonderful app on my phone for birds. Okay, let's find one. Here we go. Let me show you the picture. Hang on. Picture. Sorry. Look at that. You can't even see it. It's so camouflaged. So these are nocturnal birds that can camouflage themselves during the day, either on some bark or on the ground or anywhere, sort of anywhere out here. They're almost impossible to see. And then they come out at night, and the name nightjar is because they are active at night. They like to just lie on the road because they can see all around them. And then when they fly around and their mouth opens like a big jar, and they just take any insects that might be flying around straight into the mouth. Sort of like how some whales sort of take in fish or plankton in the ocean. They just open their mouth and just scoop it all in. The nightjar flies around with these funny whiskers on their face, and they just navigate at night and just absorb all the insects into their mouth. Isn't that fantastic? So I was hoping to show you one, but it flew away. Kate, the most common animals that we find on a night safari, I wouldn't know common, but we're not looking for the daytime animals, and we often find them, even though we're not looking for them. Impala and zebra and all those wildebeest type animals are around, but we're not looking for them. So the animals that we find a lot here in Djuma at night are leopards and hyena. The lions are around as well, but they move through. But definitely nightjars in the road, and probably, and I'll tell you without a doubt, the most common animal we see at night is a little scrub hare, which is a very similar to a bunny rabbit, but slightly different in the way that they breed. But we are going to continue on searching for this female leopardess, and in the meantime, let's go back over to Scott for an update.
Okay, we found something, a little nocturnal cat-like creature, but it's very difficult to see. Let's see. Oh no. Oh, there it is. Don't be scared. There you can see its tail. It's called a genet, and it may just be starting its evening. You'll probably find it might live in one of the holes in this tree. Come on, poke your head out again. Now we're using the special infrared lights, and it'll have no idea that we actually can see it. It'll think it's in the cover of darkness now, but it was a little bit scared of us initially. Where have you gone, little Janet? Oh. Well, a little glimpse, and I don't think We are going to be so lucky as to get another glimpse of it, sadly. It seemed a little bit nervous of us. Let's see if we can... We've also got the roof on the car, which isn't helping, but let's see if we can drive around a little bit and get you another view. I've got a feeling it may have climbed back into its hole. They like to sleep in holes in trees during the day. Okay, very good. Well, we're not having any luck there, but Steve has had some luck with a nightjar.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, Scotty. We found one. I was just showing you a picture. Now we have the real deal, boys and girls. Sitting in the road, because the road allows it to get a much better, clear vision all around. And it's got very large eyes. We're going to go to infrared now. There we go. I don't know if you can see it on infrared. Infrared allows us to see these animals at night, or allows us to see them at night without disturbing the animal. I'm just helping with the spotlight now just to get a nice sort of look at it. But you see very large eyes, and it just shuffles around. They are not able to walk on the ground. How amazing is that? They can just shuffle. They can't actually walk, and whenever they move, they'll fly up. Very quiet flight with very large wings and then land again. But you often find them in the roads at night, and they are nocturnal, like the leopard and the genet I think you just saw. And these guys, as I said, feed primarily on flying insects. Beautiful. Oh, there we go. See how it flew and landed again. Hi, Carlos. How many years have I been guiding, or how many years have I been with Safari Live? I've been with Safari Live only since January, but I've been guiding sort of in and out of the bush since about 2007, so it's over 11 years, but with some stops in between for some extra studies. And I've spent most of that time in the Kruger National Park, so in and around these areas. I really, really, really do enjoy it, yeah? Okay, so that was a marvelous view of a nightjar in the road, as you can see, on our 2-track. We're just coming out of infrared there because it makes me look really, really freaky if Senzo looks at me with the infrared. So while we get ready to depart again, slowly making our way back to see whatever we might see, let's go over to Taylor McCurdy, and she's driving. Let's see what she has for you.
Nothing. We still have not found that chameleon yet. I'm still searching and searching, checking every tree. Now, in case you're wondering how on earth I'm going to spot an animal that's got the most amazing camouflage, it's very easy actually with a spotlight. So I'm going to try and find a bush willow, because I can actually show you on a bush willow what we're looking for. Let me find one. No, not the one I'm looking for. Lane, you're wondering how many colours can a chameleon change to? Davy, I'll park next to you like this. So, just LEDs? I want to do those ones though. So, they can't really change any colour. For instance, the flat-neck chameleons that we're looking for typically go colours like greens and browns, and when they're very angry they sometimes go to blacks, but I'll explain that now. So when you're looking for a chameleon, you're obviously using your spotlight like I'm using it now. You can see it. We're in infrared though. We're in black and white. And you can see this tree has got some pods on it. Can you see that? So this is a large fruited bush willow, and they're a lighter colour green than the leaf. So when you shine over it, Davy, do you think we can maybe do this in colour? We're going to switch to colour now because I want to show you exactly what I'm looking for. There we go. Now we're out of the infrared. Is when I shine over a fruit, you can see it shines a different colour. You see that? How there's almost like a reflection. It catches your eye. It does take a lot of practice. That's what I'm looking for with the chameleon. It's almost a silvery grey colour that I'm looking for. And these fruits or the pods on the bush willow trees often catch me out. They look so similar. So when a chameleon changes colour, it's not changing colour because it wants to, because it goes, today I feel like wearing a red dress, and then puts a red dress on. It basically, what's happening is that if that animal is very angry, it's going to go a darker colour to try and make itself look big and scary. So it'll go blacks and reds, and if it wants to blend into the vegetation, so it's calm and relaxed, it'll stay nice and green, or it'll have some browns on it. And then it also change colour depending on temperature too. But it seems as though Scott has beaten me to it, and he's found you all a chameleon.
Yes, we have, but I'm going to get you guys to help find the chameleon. It's somewhere in this bush. Now, what you need to look for when you're looking for a chameleon is something that stands out, like Taylor said, that's quite pale in coloration. I don't know if you guys have seen anything yet that you think might be one. Can you see that big pale thing in the tree there? That was standing out to me. I don't know if it stood out to you, but as you can see, it's a chameleon. Once Seb zooms in with the camera, shame it's not going to have an easy night's sleep. Sure, getting blown around all over the show. Sure, imagine if you had to sleep like that, hanging on for dear life. Doesn't seem too bothered though, and it's got specially adapted feet with 2 toes that go in each direction. Oof. You might want to go and position yourself more towards the center of the tree where there's bigger branches that aren't getting blown around so much. This is quite a big individual. I'd say it's probably about 4 to 5 inches long, and I haven't seen one this big for quite some time, so very, very happy that we've got lucky in finding you guys a chameleon. Wonderful. It's quite high up in that tree. It's probably about 3 meters off the ground, and the door into your classroom will be about 2 meters off the ground. So it's about 1.5 doors off the ground where it's decided to sleep. That gives you a bit of an idea. And Lane, you were just asking how big and long chameleons are. Well, we only get one type of chameleon here in this part of South Africa, and it's called the flap-necked chameleon. And it's got a bit of a flap below its throat that it can blow up when it wants to with air, making it look big, and it's a bright orange coloration to try and chase off any predators. And sometimes we actually get lucky and find their tiny little babies that can be about as small as your pinky finger. Wonderful stuff. Well, we're going to keep moving and see what else we can find, but very happy that we did manage to find you guys a camouflaged chameleon, although not camouflaged too well after dark. But during the day, it is near impossible to see them. Very good. Well, we're going to continue along, and so are you. You're going to hop back on board with Taylor.
We are just driving down a main road still, and I see that there is another safari car coming past us, so I'm just going to watch very carefully because I've turned my very bright lights down so I don't blind their guests, and so that, of course, I'm able to sneak on past. There we go, just waving to all of them. I don't even think they could see me waving. It's just too dark. There we go, now we can put our lights on. There we go, just had to concentrate on the road there for a second. Phew! Now, Lizette, you've asked me a very difficult question. You're wondering how much does a safari in Kenya cost? A lot of money, because you've got to fly all the way from America to Kenya, which is going to be a few $1,000s at least, just alone for the flight. Actually, I don't know. Maybe about, I don't know, maybe $1,500 to $2,000 just for the flight. Then you've got to get accommodation to try and stay there. And when you come to Kenya, it's not just the safaris that are really cool. There's some really nice beaches. So I would do a beach and a safari holiday. You want to come to Kenya for a week, at least a week, if not even a little bit longer. There's so many cool things to do there. So I think for one person, you're going to have to ask Mom and Dad very nicely. Perhaps you'll have to put all your birthday presents together to get one safari in Kenya. You're looking at anywhere between $6,000 to $7,000 US dollars per person, at least, if not even a little bit more. It can be quite expensive. As lots and lots of people from all over the world want to go to Kenya because there's some really cool things that you can see there, like the migration. So where the wildebeest move from Tanzania back up towards Kenya, and they cross the rivers, and it's so dangerous, and there's millions of them. There's so many of them all moving around. So that's quite cool. So lots of people go for that. And then what else? Well, like I said, you can go to the beach, you can go to mountains, beautiful mountains in Kenya, nice camping places. Yeah, so it's going to cost a lot of money to get there. Right, we haven't found anything just yet, but we're still looking for all sorts of animals that may be crossing the road. Steve has got one that likes to run around.
We did have one that likes to run around, and he has run away. We had for you a scrub hare, the African bunny. But sadly, it's camera shy, boys and girls. Camera shy. Well done, Scott. You have won the chameleon challenge for this evening. And it's quite a traditional belief locally that chameleons, locals will never touch one. Because if you touch one, they believe that it will die, and it'll basically hundreds of smaller ones will come out of the dead chameleon. But actually, the truth of the matter is that a female chameleon, she goes onto the ground and digs a hole, and it's a very long process for her, where she then lays her baby eggs in there, and then she dies, and the babies come up. So that is actually what happens. It's not because someone touched her, it's because she died in all the process. So let's go to Scott. I think he's managed to find a little scrub hare.
Yes, thankfully our one didn't run away, and for now it's just nibbling on the grass, what hares like to do. And keep an eye out on its ears. I love watching animals with ears that can move around. Imagine if we could move our ears to help improve our hearing. There we can go. You can see kind of one ear was pointing to the left and another one to the right. Every time it picks its head up, it does a quick kind of scan around, just making sure nothing's sneaking up on them, or him or her. It does seem to be alone, so I'm not too sure why I said them. It's just one of them for now. Oh, well, it sounds like Steve's got a better view of the same animal. Off you go.
Thank you, Scotty. Indeed, have a look at the ears. Very characteristic of hares and rabbits. And some people will say, what is the difference between them? They do look very similar. And hares, yes, might have maybe the ears are a bit longer and maybe the legs are a bit longer. But the story really is that the rabbits, they live in holes in the ground. That's where they breed. The babies are born blind and without hair, whereas hares are born underneath bushes. They are born sort of much more developed than rabbits are, and they follow the mother around, already born with eyes open and hair. So that is the major difference between them, if you were ever wondering. Look at the size of the eye. Isn't that magnificent? We are in infrared at the moment. So we are looking at it. It's completely black. If I look ahead of me, I can't see this scrub hare. And with those really, really big ears, it's paying attention to whatever might be trying to sneak up on it in the long grass. They do feed on grass. That is their primary sort of food, and on small little herbs growing in and around the savannah. Hello Lane, the night temperature now is 24 degrees Celsius and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's cooled down a bit, but it is a marvelous evening. We are not wearing any warm clothes. We are in our summer months, approaching autumn now. Hello Hope, you want to know if we find more animals at night or during the day, and it really depends. I think we find more during the day, but we find different animals at night. So if we had to count it, we'd probably find more during the day, but we're not looking for those animals at night. If we wanted to find them at night, we could, but we're not looking for them. So the balance is kind of a bit shifted. I would say in the daytime we find more, but we have excellent views of nocturnal animals at night, and they're obviously moving around, and we only have the spotlight to find them with. Where in the daytime, sometimes it's easier to see a little bit further animals moving. especially elephants and things like that. They're very hard to find at night, but a bit easier during the daytime. Marvelous. Isn't he cute? You see how dark it is there? There's the spotlight. Oh, look at that. It's like a magic show. It's a magic show. So we're continuing on driving. Let's go over to Taylor and see if she's managed to find a chameleon.
No, we're not having any luck tonight. I feel like Scott wins for finding that chameleon. That was very good spotting, Scotty. We're still looking, though. We haven't given up hope. I'm actually even looking for an owl now. Imagine seeing a really cool owl on the floor up in the tree. Now, seeing as though we haven't found the animal that we're looking for, but maybe we will now, because Dakota was wondering if chameleons can bite. They can indeed bite. I've never been bitten by a chameleon before. I've had one hiss at me. It was trying to make itself big and scary. I was actually trying to move it off of the road. It was crossing a very busy road, and I didn't want a car to drive over it. So we try not to pick up any of the reptiles or any of the animals, but sometimes we need to. Then you need to be very gentle, and I tried to be as gentle as I could. It was not happy. But can you imagine us as big, scary humans coming down to try and rescue them? They don't know what we want to do. They probably think we're going to want to eat them. I don't, in my opinion, I don't think a chameleon would taste very nice, so I'll give it a skip. So I picked it up off of the ground, and it was hissing at me, and I was actually worried it was going to bite me. I don't think it would necessarily make me bleed, because chameleons are eating insects and things, and I don't quite think that all the insects that chameleons are going after, their sort of exoskeletons are as tough as maybe the skin on my hand. Maybe it would make your skin break just a little bit, but you wouldn't need any stitches or anything. Well, definitely not from the chameleons here, from the flat-neck chameleons. They're too small. Here's my favorite question from Nathan, and that is, what is the most annoying thing on safari? The flies. I think it has to be all the bugs that often get into your eyes. It's not very nice. Or, can you believe it, sometimes they fly straight into your mouth, and then you have to go with it. You have to chew down, spit the wings out, and then swallow it whole. So that's my least favorite thing about a safari, especially after a bit of rain, or even now at this time of night, when we've got these bright lights. You know that light attracts insects, so they're just coming to us. There's even another light you can't see, it's below us, that's shining on my face. So they're all going, oh, quickly, go after that. And they're all coming here, and it's not nice when they fly into your mouth. It's really quite terrible. And sometimes then they just hit your face. If you get a big dung beetle that's going and then hits you in the face, it's not very nice either. David, what's your least favorite thing about a safari? The way I drive.
Insects flying into your face.
So David also says the insects flying into your face are probably the worst things. I thought he was going to say my driving, to be honest. I'm not a very good driver. We'll still have a little look here. Now it's getting quite thick. There's lots of overhanging trees, so it'll be providing a little bit of shelter. You saw that chameleon was Scott that was blowing around in the wind. This might be a better area for a chameleon to sit in. So we're going to try our absolute best. Lauren, you wondering if I ever get lost on safari? I used to get lost all the time. It becomes quite difficult. It was quite difficult when you first start out as a safari guide. And as you go along, I don't know, I suppose you just learn to navigate using the sun, using landmarks like big trees or big termite mounds, all sorts of things. So you kind of get used to it. And if you've got the stars, you can navigate by using the stars too. So as a safari guide, we're actually taught all these different things. But if you're in a new area, it can be quite tricky. But I haven't been lost for quite some time. Maybe one day. Maybe I'm going to get lost tonight. Which way is home, David? That way. Nah, home is over there. I'm just joking. Now I know where home is. But I've had to be rescued before. Only once. It was quite funny, in fact. Is that a snake? It is. It's a snake, David. Can you see it? Oh, it's a worm. It looks like a worm slang. You okay without it? Look how cool this is. So it's a snake in the tree, David. I'm going to just quickly put the light on. I just want to see if it is a boom slung. It looks very green in color. It does, and it's in the tree. Now, a boom slung translates to tree snake. And it looks quite big. In fact, perhaps it's maybe looking for a bird that's up in that tree just sitting down. I'm surprised to see some snakes moving around. Should we see if we can find its head, David? Let's go. Let's do some investigating quickly. I know we don't have much time. There's a very venomous snake too. You don't want to touch this one. And luckily for all of you, where is its head? Can you see it? Kirsten, you said you could see its head. I can just see its body. Ah, I wonder if it's all tangled up in this tree. Come on, little snakey. Oh, it's not a little snakey. It's quite a big snakey, in fact. Reversing into the unknown. There's its tail. So it goes all the way down. Choo-choo-choo-choo. Right, that's what happens when you stall a car, because you hit a branch. It's in here. It's not really moving at the moment. It's wrapped itself around the tree. I don't know if we're going to get a view of its head, I'm afraid. You can see if I can angle this LED up this light. No, sorry, David. I'm going to do that for you, though. A little bit of extra light. So, not dangerous to us while it's up in that tree, but if I were to go and try and grab it, I'd be in a lot of trouble. So, I'm not going to go and touch the snake because it is venomous. So, we say that the snake is venomous because it has to bite you to inject its venom into your blood. If it was poisonous, that would mean that you'd have to eat the snake, and then you would get sick from it. But that's not what these are. So spiders, scorpions, snakes, they're all venomous. Very lucky to see this one. It does look like a boomslang. I'm just having a scan. Very cool, though. Very, very nice to see. It is moving. I just can't see where it's going, I'm afraid. Oh, well. That was pretty cool. I hope that all of you that joined us from the school today enjoyed the safari. And I wish that that snake was not being so sneaky and slithering on that branch and would have showed us its face. Would have been quite cool. But a nice safari nonetheless. Thank you all for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you all again soon. Remember to do your homework, brush your teeth and your hair, listen to your parents. To everybody else, we'll see you next time.